Good evening and welcome to the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit and welcome to our Apex Racing TV. I can't even get my words out straight away. You're watching the BSRTC Pro Series. We're here for 3 fantastic races this evening. Very, very interesting circuit for these cars to race on, and it is of course the track where the real life British Touring Car Championship will be racing this weekend. My name's Chaz Draycott alongside Samuli Kumo in the box. I believe we'll be joined by Adam Bath very soon. The cars are out on track doing qualifying at the moment, and funnily enough it's the real life British Touring Car driver and reigning champion Ash Sutton who is on pole position currently, as we see him just getting out of people's way. Nickel Foggy is second at the moment with Wojciech Svidovic in third. Ross McFarlane and Sven Glatzel are fourth and fifth for Northern Lights Racing GT Omega. It's a very packed field at the moment, as it always is with these guys. It's a really fiercely contested championship. As we look now at Nickel Foggy helping some of his teammates out there. He's got one of the other V-Racer cars behind him. That is, I didn't quite register the number on that one then, but beautiful livery all the same. Nickel's been quick in every car I've seen him racing so far. It's Ross McFarlane that's chasing him down. Ross also another guy that's very quick. These two were teammates in the World GT Championship in Season 2 and showed everyone just how powerful that Mercedes is as they come in then. Obviously, in this series you aren't allowed to reset your car in the pit lane. You have to go full immersion on it and bring it in, change the tyres, maybe put a bit of fuel in and get back out there. So makes people more careful with qualifying, which is interesting. It's definitely good for the immersion, and it's been an interesting rule actually. It's been around for a while in the BSR series. Some people are not fans of it, but it's just how it is, isn't it? You can't please everyone. Looking at one of the, well, there's the CQR boys coming there. That's Pete Harrod right in front of us, as identified by his rear wing. Pete currently 8th on the grid at the moment, the number 6 car. Just behind him is our colleague Alex Simpson. He is 9th with Stephen Baxter rounding out the top 10. As now that is the number 1 car ahead of Foggy, who is William Daniels, his teammate. There's Sven Glatzel, number 113. Identified, as we've said before, by that giant German flag on his roof, which isn't subtle in the slightest, but that's why it's there, I suppose. As they go up to the top of the hill and towards Druids, everyone's sort of on outlaps now and just taking it nice and relaxed. There's only a couple of minutes left of the session, 3.5 to go. There's Pete Harrod back out on track there. There's one of his teammates joining up behind him now. A couple of them actually. In fact, I believe that's Rusty Laidler and not quite sure who that was with the purple highlights on the front of the car there. I believe that's the number 8 on that car. It is. It's the number 8 car of Jamie Rushworth that we're looking back at now from Pete's gearbox. As we go onto the back straight part of the circuit, it looks like Jamie's got a tiny bit of damage to that front end there. It's a little bit warped. Maybe from following his teammates so closely. These boys really well organised. And there's one of the Youth Energy cars in there and 2 Team Mad cars on the back of this train as well. So they're obviously looking at the guys in front thinking, let's take advantage of this. As there's only 2 minutes and 40 seconds left of this session then. So they're going to have to get a move on if they're going to get laps in. Either that or they're just going to leave themselves enough time to get one. Interesting to see these tactics still coming into play though. It's been a long-standing tactic of teams in this series in the BSRTC because it is so fiercely contested. Like I say, there's just no room for error here. No room at all. Got a couple of cars at the moment it seems that haven't set laps. Nathan Davis, Martin Front, Lee Deemer, Adam Hadfield and Dave Crozier. Interesting to note that Dave Baker is actually 32nd at the moment. He's done a 144.48, so I'm not quite sure what's happened to Dave in the session. He's got no off tracks it seems. He's carrying the number 36 for this race meeting. I thought he was number 5, but oh well. Comes across the line then, with his teammates around him, so they're obviously hoping to use a bit of the slipstream, get some laps in. He's got one of the CQR Academy cars behind him there, with the yellow highlights. These guys really just looking for every single tenth. I mean, to be fair, the gap throughout the whole field at the moment, well, let me just look at it this way. If you look at Ash Sutton, I believe the gap throughout the whole thing is about 2 seconds. Let's have a look. All the way down then, yeah, the top 21 cars are separated by 0.8 of a second round here. When you go down to 30th place, it's only 2.8 seconds. The only exceptions to that are William Daniels, who's 8 seconds down, and Dave Baker, who is actually 12 seconds down. Ash helping his teammates out then, providing the slipstream. It was always an interesting tactic when, in the days of the club series, we used to try this, and we always had our quickest driver at the front, so he would just naturally get away, which often meant that I'd lose slipstream because I'm absolutely terrible, and that would be that, and my qualifying wouldn't go so well. Doesn't look like anyone's really improving at the moment. There's a couple of guys getting personal best laps out there, but no one setting any purple sectors according to the timing screen. As we look at Pete Harrod now, pulling onto the not so straight. See whether Pete improves. He's done a personal best in sector 5. He crosses the line, doesn't improve. Dave Baker does improve, but goes 24th with a 129.4. Kip Stevens has done a 130.0 and got up to 30th place, but I'm sure Dave will want to be further up the grid than that. He's obviously not having the best time of getting his car around as the session is over then. Just going to wait for those last few guys to go across the line. Rob Graham has actually just inherited 24th place from Dave Baker as well, beating him by just 8 thousandths of a second, so 800ths of a second. Clearly my my maths and my observational skills are off a little bit this evening. I apologise. As we look at the iconic layout of Brands Hatch, small pit lane. Obviously, most of the paddock being on the outside of Paddock Hill Bend when it actually comes down to larger race meetings such as the BTCC. The very famous units at the back there, where as we all know, the fantastic race hub is. So big shout out to Mark and the boys there, always doing a great job and entertaining us lot whenever we decide to venture down there. As we see the CQR cars then going for one more lap. Beginning of this train then is Jamie Rushworth, then it's Pete Harrod, then it's Ash Sutton and Dave Baker. Going to keep our eyes on the timing screen then as he comes through the final corner. Pete taking a lot of curb there, but he seemed to, well, it looked quick. I hope for his sake that it is quick. Let's check them out as they go across the line then. Doesn't look like there's any improvements from any of them actually. No, there isn't. They all stay where they are then. Pete Harrod qualifying 8th on the grid with a 128.6, 4/10ths down on teammate Ash Sutton, who takes pole position then. Kip Stevens, one of the last cars on track. His teammate Carl Jackalette is on track as well. Don't think he's quite near him though. Kip going to be the last car there for Vortex Raceflow. Nice striking livery on that car actually, the Pro Sim livery. Gets it turned into the last corner then. Kip actually provided a lot of entertainment on one of my own YouTube streams last night, actually turning up in the Spec Racer Fords to put it in the wall on purpose. He doesn't improve on his lap time unfortunately, does Kip, and he will start 30th on the grid. And that's going to be the end of qualifying then, as he brings it back to the garage, let's say. And as they all line up then, I believe we'll be able to look through the grid. So as they line up then, Ash Sutton takes pole position from Nickel Foggy, a very interesting front row. We've seen that a few times in the World GT Championship. Wojciech Svidovic and Ross McFarlane line up on the second row of the grid, with Sven Glatzel in 5th, Jack Sedgwick for, well, it says on here he's racing for Apex, but I saw him in an Inex livery earlier. 7th place is Jack McIntyre, 8th is Pete Harrod, 9th is Alex Simpson, with Steve Baxter rounding out the top 10. Christian Rose is 11th, Chris Wood is the highest placed AM driver in 12th, Jamie Rushworth 13th, Michael Hull 14th, Ryan Holmes 15th, Adam McNally 16th place with Mark Johnson 17th, Rusty Laidler is 18th with Pete Newman 19th, and Magic Sakovic rounding out the top 20. Jake Blackhall, number 11, is in 21st with Mark Woodhouse in 22nd, Colin Cunniff is 23rd with Rob Graham in 24th place, Dave Baker, as we just saw then, is 25th with Paul Smith 26th on the grid, 27th is William Daniels, 28th is Morgan Butler, 29th is Max Wright with Kip Stevens starting 30th, Carl Jackalette 31st with Scott Malcolm at 32nd. And the guys that didn't set times were Lee Deemer, Nathan Davis, Adam Hadfield, Martin in front, and bringing up the field is Dave Crozier. It's going to be very interesting to see how these boys all navigate the first lap, how they all go through Paddock Hill Bend. It seems to be quite chilly conditions here. It's saying on our screen at the moment. that we have a temperature of just 18 degrees on track. So, not the warmest. It's probably about as warm as it's going to be this weekend in the real British Touring Car Championship when they head there. Just waiting for a couple of cars now. Russell Laidler's just taken to the grid. It's Rob Graham that we're waiting on now. He's going to line up 24th. You should see him on the top right, just in front of the Team Mad car. There he is. So then, the light's going to come on. The revs will naturally rise with them. Look out for the flames coming from the exhausts. And they're away. Naturally, the cars dip down to their right. Great start by Sven Glatzel through the middle and started 5th on the grid. He's gained 2 places already. Alex Simpson's also got a good start, it seems. He's gained a couple of positions as well. As we look back sideways there, that was Wojciech Svidovic through turn 1. Everyone's 2 by 2 at the moment, keeping it nice and safe at least. No one's making any silly manoeuvres, just having a quick scan down. There's a couple of guys just swapping around. Doesn't seem like anyone's actually gone off or dropped down the order as of yet. A couple of Team Mad cars there running wide as we look at Jack McIntyre side by side with Steve Baxter. Oh, sideways there, that was one of the Apex cars. I believe that was Brian Holmes. A little bit out of shape there, not sure whether he got any help or anything. I'm going to try and have a quick look, but it doesn't look like he's got any incident points, so he can't have done. Nearly getting a nudge there from number 11. That is Jake Blackhall in the CQR Academy car. As the all bright multicoloured field of Kias comes flying down the hill then. If you've ever stood near that bridge, you know just how good that sounds when they come through there. I can imagine if these things did it in real life, it'd be absolutely amazing. I'm trying to see if whether we've got anyone off track yet, but it seems that everyone's doing alright so far. Maybe Pete Harrod's actually had a little bit of an off, it seems, but he's only gone off track for half a second according to the timing screen, as we see Russell Laidler now getting involved with number 54, and that's number 21 down the inside of him. That's Pete Newman. They're battling away with Northern Lights racing driver Adam McNally. There's off in the background there, I think that was one of the Northern Lights cars. It might have been Colin Cunniff, just taking a bit of a ride off into the sand. As we look now at Stephen Baxter then, completing lap 1. Ash Sutton still leads the way, Nickel Foggy still second. Wojciech Svidovic is 3rd, Sven Glatzel has gained a place to 4th, Jack Sedgwick has gone to 5th. Ross McFarlane is a big loser in the top 6 to be fair. He's gone down 2 positions, with Alex Simpson going up 2 places to 7th. Jack McIntyre also going down 2 places to 9th. As we see Ross McFarlane now, he's going to want to gain those positions back, but with people like Alex Simpson and Pete Harrod behind you, it's not going to be easy to focus on moving forward. You've got to just make sure these guys don't come at you from behind. The top 5 then, just sort of breaking away a little bit from Ross at the moment. As you can see, everyone's staying single file around this part of the track, doing a nice job at avoiding incidents, as Pete Harrod now is on the back of Alex Simpson. You've got to think that Pete's going to try and use the slipstream here. Alex seems to have got a good run though. He's actually getting away a little bit by the look of it. So hit the bottom of the hill then. Slightly on the brakes. This is a really tricky corner to get right in the Kia because it just wants to understeer in that wall on the outside. And you're going up over a crest, so you feel like you're constantly losing grip. It's not easy to judge it, to be honest. It's a very fast car in a straight line, and to try and get it slowed down just enough to turn it in properly is not an easy task. And you probably noticed by the sounds that it just sounds like these things are sliding all over the place all the time. It's probably just the massive understeer. As we look at Stephen Baxter, then he's chasing down Jack McIntyre for that will be for, well, these are around about the top 10, so that'll be for 9th place. Jack McIntyre's already lost 2 places. Behind Steve is Christian Rose in the CQR Academy car. Nice and consistent so far. Christian's always been a quick driver, especially in the World GT Championship. He's always been at left. Team CQR. It's Ash Sutton now coming under pressure from Nickel Foggy. Nickel tries it around the outside at turn 1. Doesn't quite work. He's going up to Druids. He brakes a little bit earlier. Obviously playing it safe against Ash here. These boys have spent a lot of time battling on track. They've had some epic fights, and hopefully this will be another one of them. But Wojciech Svidovic, never been a slouch in this car at all. He's been a previous champion of the series, of course. He's going to be wanting to take advantage of this, but he's got a very level head on him when it comes to his racing as Wojciech, so I'm sure he's just going to sort of identify his opportunities, hold back a little bit, just see if Nickel and Ash can slow each other down a bit by battling. The fastest lap of the race last time around was Nickel Foggy, as we see Jack McIntyre off the track. Not sure whether he had some help. We'll look back now. It's as if Samuli read my mind on that one. He's got 6 incident points, so I'm not sure what's happened. He just gets it all wrong under braking. Runs wide there, keeps it out of people's way, which is gentlemanly of him. We'll go back now then. He's down to 15th place, unfortunately. He's lost 8 places in total. He's on the back of Mark Johnston now, another veteran of the BSRTC. Jack's going to want to try and dispatch of him as quickly as possible. But Chris Wood is ahead of them, and he's no slouch either. This is just, I mean, everywhere you look, it's quick drivers all over the place. One of the CQR cars off the track just ahead there. It looks like Max Wright's had an issue. He's just nipped down the order. William Daniels has done the same further down. Carl Jacquelette's going down the order. Let's have a quick look. This is William Daniels then, side by side with number 37, that was at the time. That's Nathan Davis. Oh, they all just sort of get crossed up with each other. And is there going to be a coming together when they come back on? No, William just sort of disappears there, not quite sure what's happened to him. He's back on. It seems to have sorted itself out there. Maybe there's the maximum number of cars on my screen disappearing or something, I'm not 100% sure. As there we go, it's Chris Wood now still defending from Mark Johnston. Mark down the inside. Nice move there, Chris giving him plenty of room. He's not going to let him completely delete the overlap though, he's just going to keep it side by side. Chris is going to be on the inside a little bit here. As they go down the straight then, they're pretty much going to be level. Depends who's got the better run. Now it's last of the late breakers as they turn in. Chris keeps it down the inside. Mark cuts across his nose. Really brave stuff there from Mark Johnston, but he makes it a decisive manoeuvre, gets ahead, and now McIntyre on the back of Chris Wood as well. He's going to be piling on the pressure as they use all of that AstroTurf on the outside. It's a good thing this is a front wheel drive car, because that'd spin you right round if you clip that wrong. You've got to be so careful of that grass on the left as well, going through that right kink. Because if you just put one wheel on there when you're touching the brakes or even the throttle in this thing, you're just going to go flying around. Jack McIntyre then putting the pressure on. You can hear and even feel the understeer when you're on board with these things. When it's on a roll bar camera especially, it's such a stiff camera, you can just feel it trying to just get away at the front. But these guys all very experienced with the car, they know how to master it and get it round the corner as effectively as possible. That's the art of mastering this car, I suppose. Brilliant view there as you dive down into Paddock Hill Bend. Bits of gravel bouncing off the windscreen, love the immersion that iRacing brings with stuff like that. And these two in front of Jack are actually classed as AM drivers as well. They're actually battling for the AM lead, come to think of it. That was obviously inherited earlier by, who was it that had that? Someone else was in the AM lead, I'm pretty sure earlier, but Mark Johnston then now has that AM lead and Chris Wood wants it back off him. It may not be an overall race win, but for these guys it's just as important. You want to be that fastest AM, the lead AM driver. It was Chris Wood actually that started off as the highest in that class, but Mark has gained 4 places so far, putting in a sterling effort, 13th overall. Seems to be getting away from Chris a little bit down there now. He's got some CQR cars ahead of him, Michael Hall, Jamie Rushworth, Christian Rose. Just ahead of them as well as Pete Harrod, who is 8th after starting 8th. One of the few drivers that's actually in the same position he started at the moment. Others in that club include Ash Sutton, Nicole Foggy and Wojciech Savidovic, who is just ahead of Sven Glatzel here, defending from Sedgwick. McFarlane and Alex Simpson is just a little bit off this train. So they come across the line then to start lap 6. 12.5 minutes of the first race to go. We've got 3 of these coming up tonight, so don't go anywhere. This is just going to get more and more frantic as the night goes on. We've got reverse grids and everything for you, so hold your breath is all I'm going to say as we look now at Sedgwick chasing down Sven Glatzel. But Sven, I've not seen a massive amount of Sven on the service before started to commentate on the BSRTC, but he's definitely got pace. He seems like a very well-rounded driver. He's got the attacking down, he's got the defensive side of it absolutely nailed, so it's good that he's showing his worth here. Sedgwick, you can see he's trying, the car's understeering as he's putting the throttle down, trying to get any sort of advantage, get on the throttle as early as possible, but this thing isn't accustomed to that well, this Kia. I mean, it's nearly 400 brake horsepower and turboed and front wheel drive, and it's just, there's no downforce over the rear really. That wing may look nice and sort of straight and sturdy as, oh, Sedgwick clips the grass there, controls it on the brakes, and that is the opportunity that Sedgwick wants there. Sorry, it's Glatzel that clipped the grass. I'm pretty sure I said his name wrong then. I thought I said he was Sedgwick. He clips the grass again. McFarlane's got to be really careful here, and so is Simpson, who's now closed up onto the back of these. Can Sedgwick get away now with Sven Glatzel having to defend? That's the question. Ross goes to the inside, gives him a little look, just to warn him. He's saying, I'm still here, son, I'm not going anywhere. Great racing though to keep all 3 of them on the track. Alex Simpson then's just going to be doing what Wojciech was doing before, playing a similar game. You just got to hold back a little bit, keep an eye on what's going on, and just identify your opportunities. You just got to assess what's going on in front of you. As he gets really high on that curve going down Paddock Hill Bend. That's scary enough doing it in sim racing. I can't imagine what it's like doing it in real life. A little bit of contact there between McFarlane and Glatzel. Doesn't really affect either of them too much. It's not quite like Rydell and Reed going through there. I don't think they're going to go and grab each other by the face when they get back to the pits, so let's hope that it doesn't come to that. As Simpson now looking down the inside, McFarlane then fading to the inside also on Glatzel. He's going to have a right job on his hands defending from these guys. Sven had a bit of a tight line there actually, so Ross I think has got the run. Has he got a slight overlap there? It looks like it. He's got a really good run. It's going to be side by side then as they go up the hill. Is he going to get it done on the brakes? He is. Sven concedes the place. Great work by McFarlane, but Sven's going to try the cutback now, and he might actually do it as well. Doesn't seem so, but here's Simpson on the attack now as well. Dives out last minute, and Pete Harrod's going to get in on the action as well. This is going to be brilliant stuff if these guys can keep it up. They're just going to keep on track. They're just going to be really, really careful. It's not the widest of circuits in the world, and this Kia is a bit of a struggle bus to say the least. Pete, no, he's not scared of a bit of rear-wheel drive drifting, is Pete Harrod. So I know that he's going to be shucking that thing in as hard as he can. Looks to the outside of Alex Simpson now, goes defensive. Can Pete get some sort of cutback? He's trying it, but no, it's just not there. He's going to try and use the slipstream. And just like with every other battle, as we get a nice close-up of Alex's rear end there, Pete just looks down the inside, but Alex is just confident enough to turn it in. Oh, there's the suspension assembly anyways. Pete catches a bit of dust on the outside. As I was going to say though, you've got to consider the fact that Steve Baxter's right behind them here, and he's going to be catching onto this group as well. Anytime anyone fights in this field, they lose a bit of ground and then the car behind them just tags on and the train sort of morphs through the fields. We look back then at Steve Baxter in the Northern Lights GT Omega car, as we could have looked sideways at him nearly then as he was going down the inside, just doesn't make it. Pete gets a really good run out of there. Sven has been let off for now as there's a really big train of cars behind these boys. I think it's Michael Hall leading the way in that one, or is it Christian Rose actually? It's neither of them actually, ignore me, it's Jamie Rushworth. Then it's Christian Rose, Michael Hall. You've got Mark Johnston, Chris Wood battling for the AM lead, and then Jack McIntyre, and behind Jack you've got Rusty Laidler as well. So it's a train of guys that aren't scared to take opportunities, from what I've learned in racing these guys over the course of a couple of years on iRacing. But it's a very CQR controlled train at the moment, so if it goes wrong for one of them, then I'm sure the teammates will try and help them out. That's Mark Johnston then putting the pressure on Michael Hall at the moment. Michael has said he's going to be at the BTCC on the weekend, so I'm much looking forward to meeting him and a couple of others as well. It's always nice to see people from the iRacing world in the real world. As Chris Wood then side by side with Jack McIntyre. Jack's finally going to try and get the move done. Number 38 against number 33. Jack down the inside, nice and controlled manoeuvre on the brakes, and he's got the job done. Great stuff. And Johnston just looks down the inside at Michael Hall there, not quite getting the overlap. Chris isn't taking that manoeuvre by McIntyre lying down though. He's having a quick look down the inside when he gets opportunity to try and regain the place. Top three at the moment, still in the same order. Ash Sutton leading the way, 0.6 of a second. Well, sorry, just over half a second ahead of Nickel Foggy. Wojciech Savidovic, another 0.6 back from Nickel. They've got 2.5 seconds over Sedgwick though, so it's just going to be the podium runners getting away with it at the moment. We've got CQR car, Northern Lights Racing, GT Omega car, and then an Apex car in there. So a nice spread of teams as well. It's not just being dominated by one, but dominated is the word for Ash Sutton at the moment. He's getting on with it. He's got that number 1 on his car for a reason. It's Nickel consistently chasing him down though, and Wojciech's he's not hanging about either. Brian Holmes is in the pit lane unfortunately. Not quite sure what happened to Brian or how long ago, but it seems like he's been in there for a bit. I've only just noticed it though, I'm afraid. Just looking down the field at biggest movers at the moment, as we do look back at Brian Holmes. Oh, he's off the track there. He's got damage from something. That's not a well-behaved car. I think it might even be a front left puncture by the look of it. Jack Sedgwick then leading this queue of cars from 4th place. That's Ross McFarlane, Sven Glatzel, Alex Simpson behind him, and then Pete Harrod on the back of that. And even on the back of Pete, there's Steve Baxter as well. So these 6 are quite evenly spread out, but not too far that they wouldn't get slipstream off one another. I was just going to say then, looking through the field at biggest movers so far, other than those that started near the back with incidents helping them out, you've got to look at this man, Dave Baker. 7 places gained, up to 18th. putting in a good drive so far. Dave's always been quick, and I don't think he's going to finish 6th in this one like he normally does, but he's certainly showing us that the qualifying was nothing to go by. He might get quite lucky with a reverse grid, to be fair, which will be nice and fortunate for Dave. He deserves the look, really. He's one of the nicest blokes you'll ever meet, is Baker. Tenacious on track, though. He's fantastic at defending. He's always said to me that he's better at defending than he is attacking, but when he's made 7 places up in a field like this, then I beg to differ. Behind him then is Pete Newman, his teammate, in the CQR Academy car anyway, and then it's Maciej Sakovic, Season 1 Club Series champion, and Mark Woodhouse also in there as well, so it's a couple of CQR cars, a couple of Team Mad cars. Jake Blackhall's not far behind them as well, actually, in 2nd place. As they come streaming down the straight then, onto lap 11. 4 3/4 minutes to go then. I could have just said less than 5 minutes, but you know, you've got to try and make it sound elaborate. Mark Johnston then, McIntyre and Wood side by side behind him. Chris Wood not giving up on trying to get that move redone. Oh, clips the grass with his rear wheel. It's actually helped him out a bit there. It turned the car in a little bit more for him. It's something you always want with the Kia. Is he going to dive out last second on the inside? He's not. He's playing it nice and controlled at the moment. But he's got to be cautious though, because he's got Russell Laidler behind him. Another very experienced driver when it comes to the BSRTC. And Adam McNally, he's going to be catching onto the back of them as well. Fantastic train of cars, no matter where you look. There's just, I mean, there's barely anyone that's separated by more than sort of half a second to 7/10 throughout this whole field, all the way down to 21st place. It's good close racing is what we want. Mark Johnston running a little bit wide there then. McIntyre looks down the inside, thinks better of it, gets on the brakes early. He's probably going to try and line him up into the final corner then, see what he can do with it. Right on the tail of him. Go on board then with McIntyre. You can see the smooth application of the steering there to avoid any understeer that the car might generate itself. It's just a naturally understeery car. Going down into turn 1 then on the brakes, there's some lovely little rises there to try and catch you out, especially in this thing which understeers a lot. He's really on the back of Johnston now. He's just got to be really careful going onto the brakes as Johnston runs wide. McIntyre goes a little bit deep as well, but I think he's got the move done. Johnston's going to be on the inside now for the next corner though, so that's going to help him out massively. And can Chris Wood benefit from this? McIntyre backs out, tries to get the cut back, gets it done. Nearly gets the quarter panel on him then. Johnston staying on the outside. McIntyre has the room. Down the inside he goes. Chris Wood runs wide though, trying to stick with them. Oh no, as Johnston and McIntyre make contact. I'm not sure on who that's on really there. I think McIntyre just washed wide into him. Clips the wall a little bit, turning it round, and off he goes. Real shame there for McIntyre. We haven't actually seen any incidents up to now, if I'm honest, so it's been possibly the cleanest race I've seen in years in the BSRTC, and unfortunately there, McIntyre the loser in that scenario. As we look back at Cedric now, really close with Ross McFarlane. These are getting frantic with just 2 1/4 minutes to go. This is going to get really, really scrappy. 2 very quick drivers, very committed drivers to the service. But you've just got to be patient in this car. You can't go ragging it into corners and trying everything. You've just got to be smooth with it. There's Alex Simpson there all over the back of Sven Glatzel behind him, and then he's got to be careful of Pete Harrod as well, who's chasing him down. So all the way through to the top 7 you've got good battles. As down the inside then, McFarlane just trying to get the overlap on Cedric. Doesn't quite work. Alex there diving left and right to try and unsettle Sven Glatzel. That's not working either. Just sticking with him, trying to copy his every move. Harrod's got a good run out there, but speaking of getting a good run, McFarlane, actually he's not quite got the overlap, has he? Chasing down Cedric more and more, but Harrod is right on the back of Alex Simpson now as they go off into the woods. Alex seems to get a really good run out of there though. Every time we've gone on this camera, Alex is just getting away down the straight as McFarlane looks to the outside of Cedric there in the background. Again, doesn't quite get it done. Cedric though, he knows he's got to go defensive now. He's trying to play the mind games with McFarlane. I think he's trying to lure him into getting a move done. 53 seconds to go on the clock then, and so that means the next lap round will be the last one for Ash Sutton. Still race leader from pole. But it's McFarlane then chasing down Cedric. And then behind that we've got Glatzel, Simpson, Harrod and Baxter all getting close together as well. They've got another sort of nearly 4 seconds before Jamie Rushworth, so those boys can battle and not worry about losing places. This is what we're going to look at then. Cedric trying to defend as Harrod is getting alongside Simpson down the not straight. Pete on the brakes a bit early there, lets Alex go so he doesn't compromise his line too much. Alex mounting the curb, all 3 of them mounting the curb. Glatzel's going to be watching in his rearview mirror as Pete Harrod comes down the inside, slams on the brakes, wiggles the rear end as Alex tags Sven there. And then he gets hit by his teammate Baxter. Real shame there for Sven Glatzel, he was the innocent party in that one. And so was his teammate Baxter as well. Hopefully they can get to the end safe. It wasn't intentional from Alex, we know that. It was just in the moment, battling up to that Druid's corner. It's very difficult to get it nailed on the brakes if you're focusing on the fight. But Harrod, to be fair, is not lost out on that one either. He's gained a place from it. Just really rinsing the necks, wringing the necks, sorry, these cars right now. Cedric's still somehow ahead of McFarlane after him piling on so much pressure. Couple of corners to go then for the race leader Ash Sutton. Top 3 not even covered by a second after all this time. But they've just followed in formation, got the job done. Ash Sutton then out of the final corner. He's going to win the first race of the evening. Great drive, lights to flag with Nicol Foggy in second and Wojciech Savidovic third. Brilliant racing by those 3. And we look back then to Cedric. Is he going to get it done? He is. He beats Ross McFarlane to the line, who finishes 5th. Alex Simpson comes across the line in 6th place with Harrod 7th. And it's going to be Baxter beats Glatzel to the line as well, as we see Jamie Rushworth and Christian Rose. He beats Hall, Wood, Laidler, McNally, Baker. Really big battle there. Dave Baker gaining 9 places overall. As we see Kip Stevens now all over the back of Paul Smith in the Team Mad car. They're going to be side by side across the line, but Paul's on the inside, so he might do it. And even then, Martin Front nearly beating Kip over the line there. Great battling by those boys at the end. Oh, as he tips him into turn 1. Not quite sure Martin meant to do that there. I think he was just avoiding hitting the back of Paul. As the guys pull up then to finish the race. That was brilliant to watch. Fantastic racing all through the field. Nicol Foggy there finishing in 2nd place. His teammate McFarlane having a great fight with Cedric. Fantastic to watch as ever by those guys. Getting a little bit celebratory there is McFarlane. Obviously very excited by his result. Really clean race as well. The only incident obviously we saw was between, I completely forgot who turned in there. It was Johnston and McIntyre, wasn't it? Number 33. McIntyre there actually lost a couple of places early on in the race and then obviously got involved in that one as well. It's a real shame for him there that he didn't benefit massively from those results, but we should, speaking of results, we should have them in just a moment for you. Just seen that Martin Front there apologised to Kip for the tap after the line. Good sportsmanship as Nicol Foggy makes a bit of a meal of that coming into the pits. That was great fun to watch, and hopefully we've got 2 more races of the same quality for you over the evening. Here's the results then. As we look at it, Ash Sutton takes the win from pole. Nicol Foggy finishes 2nd from 2nd on the grid. And Wojciech Savidovic completes the podium starting from 3rd on the grid. Jack Cedric finishes 4th after great defence from Ross McFarlane. Alex Simpson gets 6th place with Pete Harrod in 7th. Steve Baxter 8th. Sven Glatzel will be a bit gutted after the contacts in that one, but he still finishes 9th. Really good haul of points for him still. Jamie Rushworth rounds out the top 10 in a trio of CQR cars where he's followed home by Christian Rose and Michael Hall. Chris Wood finishes 13th ahead of Rusty Laidler in 14th and Adam McNally 15th. Those 3 actually being the top 3 Am drivers in that one, so that's their sort of podium as you will. Dave Baker gains 9 places and finishes 16th with Mark Johnston starting where he finished in 17th. Magic Sakovic finishing in 18th with Pete Newman 19th and Jake Blackwell in 20th. 21st was Colin Cunliffe, sorry I can't get that right. Jack McIntyre 22nd after his incidents there. Unfortunate for him, he lost 15 places in that one. 23rd position was Rob Graham, 24th Nathan Davis, 25th Paul Smith, 26th Kip Stevens with Martin Front 27th there, Scott Malcolm in 28th and Max Wright finishing where he started in 29th. William Daniels was 30th with Mark Woodhouse 31st, Dave Crozier 32nd, Carl Jacquelat 33rd, Lee Deemer 34th, Adam Hadfield disconnected at some point, finished 35th, with Brian Holmes 36th, and Morgan Butler rounding out the field in 37th place. And if I'm correct, we should have a reverse grid wheel on screen very soon with Mr. Samuli Kumo.
Yes, we do. The reverse grid wheel is on your screen right now, and we will spin it to see what kind of grid we get for the race 2.
You've got to remember that anyone that's included in this is either a lap down or less. Anything over that will not count.
Yes, and we get it is full -3.
Okay, so that will mean that the number 1 car, William Daniels, is on pole position, ahead of Max Wright, Scott Malcolm, and Martin Front. So we will join you for race 2 in about 10-15 minutes time. Don't go away from Apex Racing TV.
Team racing allows multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
My name is Stephen Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the beta UI. So once you're at the home page of the beta UI, you just go to create a race. Then from there you go to your set race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the preview format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing. Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher Domenic at the line.
Hi there, I'm Richard Jobling, Senior Software Engineer here at iRacing. I'd like to show you some of the work that we've been doing to improve the collision and the damage in our sim. One of the major changes we've made is how our collision systems work. The old system stored the track as parametric surfaces, and the cars were made of collections of spheres. As the cars moved around the track, we would recompute planes using the track surfaces, and then test those against the spheres. This worked well for spheres, but was too specialized to adapt to our shapes. So for the new system, we've built new high-resolution meshes for each track. This is more efficient and gives us a lot more flexibility for the car shapes. The new mesh incorporates all the track features our guys worked so hard to replicate. Things like curb geometry and changes in the surface material are all baked into the mesh. We've also taken our laser scan data and applied that to the mesh. And since the mesh is so high resolution, we capture all the detail that's necessary so that the tracks are just like the real thing. With our new mesh, we can now represent cars using smooth, convex hulls, which grouped together form the chassis, the bodywork, and all the other parts of the car. The new shapes are a much closer fit to the shape of the real car. During impacts, the shapes can deform according to the damage, and eventually they can break off as separate objects. All the parts, like wings, hoods, and wheels, can also hang from their joints, flapping and vibrating until they eventually snap off. All these changes are going to add a whole new level of realism to our races. If you want to find out more, please visit iRacing.com and check out my blog post for lots more details.
Hi, my name is Greg Hill. I'm the Vice President of Art and Production here at iRacing. This damage project that we've been discussing is certainly a project that involved all hands on deck to pull off. We've got a rather sizable number of cars in our portfolio, and not all of these cars have been built with this dynamic damage system in mind. So what we had to do is one by one go through our race cars, and we had a team of 3 artists, a highly technical modeler, our technical art director, and our associate art director. All took on each car one at a time, and the work involved was researching that car, researching what would happen to that car if it were in a crash, depending on the forces involved in the crash, how severely it would be damaged, what parts might come off, what those pieces might look like when they're removed, what it would look like where the car has areas exposed that were previously covered by bodywork. So they had to do a lot of modeling to each race car, and they had to do a lot of work to essentially set up how the car would react to forces. So essentially setting the strength of the materials. What kind of force would it take to rip off the side pod, for example? Or under what circumstances would this nose cone get ripped off of a car? Or under which would it remain, but just be badly damaged? But all said, it's been a lot of work, but seeing the car models interact with the physics system and the new crash dynamics is really exciting and really cool to see, and definitely makes all that hard work worth it.
Hi, my name is Jose Diaz. I'm a visual effects artist at iRacing. I specialize in particle effects ranging from fireworks to water fountains, debris, crash, impacts, all in the service of improving the driving experience. So you have the main sort of new damage model that Richard's been working on. So that takes into consideration all the mounts and the chassis from the cars and which materials they are. And he's making all the calculations that tell you like, okay, it got hit from this one side and the strength of that impact is this certain amount of values. If you hit something, that means that this mount gets off, something breaks. This gets added on top of that to sort of complement what is happening there with things that you would see in real life when a car crashes. So typically in a car crash, you will see all these little particles of dust, metal, scratches that will take all that force and momentum and kind of explode in a way. And it's all being driven by how fast the car was coming, how hard the impact was against what. That will give you that sense of like, man, that person really crashed hard, or oh, it was just a small bump.
Hi, my name is Chris Lurch. I'm one of the vehicle dynamicists here at iRacing. Our role in the collision project is to tune the collision properties of each and every car to ensure that they behave in wrecks as a real car would. And we've spent quite a bit of time going through literature from the automotive industry on the subject to make sure that we have panels that deform the way they're supposed to, both temporarily and permanently, that pieces that don't deform but rather just break at appropriate times in appropriate ways. The cars are absorbing energy the way they should and aren't sort of bouncing off the walls in crazy ways. The major properties that we look at are stiffnesses, which is how much a piece of the car deforms when a load is applied to it. And then we look at a couple of limits. One is the force limit beyond which the piece deforms permanently. And then the second limit that we look at is the brake limit, the force limit beyond which the piece will simply break. And then we also will look at damping, which is how much the piece absorbs energy versus how much it takes like a spring and can absorb as potential energy and then rebound back out like a basketball would.
Team racing.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship here at Brands Hatch. We're getting set for the second race of the day here. Joining me in the commentary box alongside me, Adam Bath, is the person that's been with you for the opening race of the day. It's Chaz Draycott. We've got the grid coming up, Chaz, and for those that may have just joined us like me, what happened in that first race?
Well, it was really clean, to be honest. It was amazing. There's only one small incident with McIntyre and Johnston. But it was actually really clean, really close racing from everyone. Obviously, as we know, Brands is a tight and twisty circuit, so it was great fun to watch. I don't think I took a breath for about the first 15 minutes, but it was great to do. Enjoyed it.
Grid just flashing up across your screen. Will Daniel starting on the pole, then it's Max Wright and Scott Malcolm. So we've got 3 AM drivers starting in the top 3 positions. And here come the lights then. We're getting set to go. And it's an Automech Knock Hill front row as well, because Will Daniels hasn't taken to the grid. Here we go. When the 5 lights go out, we'll be ready to go here at Brands Hatch. And there it is. Good start from Max Wright. Definitely a good start for Max Wright. It's Scott Malcolm that's made the poor getaway. Paul Smith is going to go into 3rd place here, going into the first corner. And who's that? That is the Apex car, Nathan Davis, drifting into the gravel. What an awful first corner for him. And Smith's going for 2nd, going into Druids here, followed by a Pro Sim car as well. Sorry, a Vortex car as well. That's Kip Stevens. He usually does well around here. And Nathan Davis, Chaz, is all sorts of hung out to dry as everybody's trying to find their own bit of track here. Oh, and it's all going horribly wrong.
Black hole there. Oh, and there's Russell Laidler around. He's been caught by one of the Youth Energy cars. It's all backing up a little bit. There's people 4 wide, 3 wide. They're just sort of keeping it on there. There's a couple of guys keeping it off the track. Blackhall had a bit of a wobble and lost it himself, but Russell Laidler there got caught up with one of the Youth Energy boys. You see Alex Simpson there side by side. I think that's Nickel Foggy and Ross McFarlane. He's 3 wide with going down straight. McFarlane on the grass. The 2x2 behind that, now 3 wide. There's 2 Apex cars. There's an Inex car in there. I think Ash Sutton's in that as well. Sutton breaks away from it then. Foggy around the outside of Simpson. But it was getting all a bit lively there, but they've sorted it all out a bit. I think we're safe for a little bit.
Yeah, I think Alex Simpson has picked the right person to follow, really. The outgoing British Touring Car Champion. He's one of the best drivers in this series as he drifts his way through Sheen Curve there. He usually gains full of positions in any of the races, so as long as he doesn't get involved in any of the crashes. And he's got a good run here on Stephen Baxter going into clearways. And Baxter, of course, one of the championship contenders as we get ever nearer to the showdown. You'll be able to notice Baxter by the English flag that he's got on the top of his car. Rounds complete the first lap then. It's Max Wright leading, Martin front 2nd, Paul Smith 3rd, Kip Stevens 4th, McIntyre 5th, Scott Malcolm in 6th. Then it's Mark Johnston, Rob Graham, Nathan Davis, and Dave Baker rounding out the top 10.
Yeah, Dave Baker put in a great effort in the first race as well. He actually qualified, I think, 25th on the grid in the end. Managed to bring it to 17th. There's 2 of the Automech Knock Hill cars get quite close together there. You can see Mark's name on the overlay, not quite right there, Mark Johnston. Yeah. So we're going to that's going to be his name now going forward. 3 wide in the background there. That's one of the Team Mad cars next to, I believe it might have been Sven Glatzel. I'm not sure whether it was him or not. He's usually got a massive German flag on the roof that we mentioned in race 1. As this right now is Nathan Davis side by side with the number 5 car of David Baker. This is for the final few places in the top 10. Just ahead of them is Rob Graham. He's going to be laughing at his rear view mirror at this point. Dave really close contact there, wing mirror to wing mirror sort of stuff. Nathan Davis out wide again after taking the what we know is now the Paris-Dakar route through turn 1. But he's actually ahead of Dave Baker now, who concedes the spot.
Yeah, he got his elbows out there, Nathan Davis, going into Westfield Bend, and Dave Baker had to get out of it. You can see in the background there's a sideways Polish driver, and that is Maciek Sakovic, trying to keep Pete Newman at bay, who was a bit squirrely in Graham Hill Bend on the opening lap of the race. And there is Colin Cunniff as well. He's got the Scottish Standard on top of his car. That's what the yellow thing is. And going for the final corner now, he's got Michael Hall for company. And then it's the 2 drivers you were just talking about, Chaz, with Jamie Rushworth and Sven Glatzel, who are duking it out. One's a former BSRTC champion, the other one is a aspiring BSRTC champion. And they're going to go wheel to wheel into the first corner.
Yeah, Sven's got the inside line there. We've got one CQR car battling a Northern Lights car, and then behind that another one. But Ash Sutton's in the middle there, and then there's another Northern Lights car behind that. So this is going to get a little bit messy with these boys. There's contact between Sutton and Rushworth there. That's around his number 30 car, and that's Foggy getting involved as well. And that's Paul Smith, I believe, going into him. Actually, it's not. Sorry, it's Woodhouse with the white flashes on his car. It's Christian Rose then we see as the CQR car that's been the big loser in that scenario. as that's Sutton there ahead of Rushworth now after the previous contact with his teammate. Rushworth has got Baxter then alongside him as they go down the straight. Still side by side, pretty level as they go under the bridge. Baxter coming across a little bit just to let him know, I'm still here, son, you're not having this inside line. Round the outside goes Rushworth, and a little bit of contact, isn't there, as that's Cunniff off on the grass.
Yeah, I don't know, surely it's not a slowdown. It's very difficult to get a slowdown here, and I don't know where he's going. Might be issues for Cunniff there, but he's going to lose all those positions as a result. Here comes Alex Simpson through, Rushworth through as well, Foggy touring. He's making sure that he's not on the circuit, but potentially technical issues, something of the sort for Colin Cunniff anyway. It looks like he's heading into, for now, retirement as things stand. It's getting a bit close at the front, no pun intended. Martin Front leads, Max Wright second by about 0.3 of a second as they come over the line. Front was marginally quicker, but this is the battle we've got on screen right now. It's the battle for third between Paul Smith and Jack McIntyre. One's an AM driver, one's a pro driver. McIntyre's the one on the outside in the Scuderia Haggis car, and Paul Smith's the one on the inside with the Team Mad with the pink flashes, and trying to keep his spot on the podium here. But Jack McIntyre with the quicker pace. He is a pro driver, of course, and credit to Paul Smith, he's still holding in there. And he has a run around the outside of Graham Hill Bend, and now going into Surtees. Chaz, it looks like he just for now able to hold on to that final spot on the rostrum.
Yeah, really gutsy stuff there from Paul Smith, holding his ground, and he's done a great job of it there. As we look at Mark Johnston now battling with Kip Stevens, who's actually wearing my number 22 for this race, so I hope he does well with it. Behind them as well is actually Scott Malcolm, who's going to be just sort of keeping it back, looking to see whether he can take any opportunities here. As it stands though, it's Kip defending from Mark, and he's just going to have his wits about him here, because Mark will take any opportunity he can, stick his nose down the inside, and just try and you just got to try and psych your opponent out. As Paul Smith goes wide there, Johnston gets a slide on as well, but that'll give McIntyre third place then. McIntyre now, you've got to think, will try and run after those lead pair, as Front has taken the lead from Max Wright.
Yeah, Martin Front was in front at the line, but yeah, it's a titanic duel for the final positions on the podium. You're definitely right about Jack McIntyre having the potential to try and close these lot down. He's in clear air now, so we'll start to see what he can do. Here comes Paul Smith versus Kip Stevens. These two know each other very well, and that's a bit close for comfort going for the first corner, and this is going to be music to Mark Johnston's ears. He could get both of them here going into Druids. He hits him!
Pinball,
that's not
Kip.
gone at all well. Pinball wins with Kip Stevens, and off in the background to Nathan Davis. He loves the runoff area around that part of the circuit, doesn't he? As here comes Johnston again.
Yeah, Johnston now on the outside of Paul Smith. Paul's still in there. I believe it was, Paul caught Kip, and then it was Mark caught Kip, and then Paul got hit by Scott Malcolm into the back of Kip again. So it was all a bit of pinball wizard, as he said. And Dave Baker has actually got past Scott Malcolm in the meantime as well. I think it might have been Rob Graham, I apologise. He was the Automech not kill car involved, wasn't he? Kip though is at the front of the battle now, and he's going to try and run away with it and chase after the guys that are currently on the podium, while he leaves Mark Johnston to defend from this absolute gaggle behind him.
And here the tyres screeching going through each of the corners. I keep thinking as we're going to pan around and see a driver off in the gravel or something, but punishing the tyres here, and they can afford to. It's only a 14 lap race, about 15-20 minutes in length, and they should have a tyre life left. It's just if the track, they change the conditions for the third race of the day and put the conditions up to the high 40s, and then you're in trouble. But here comes Dave Baker then, slowly working his way up through the field, 8 positions gained thus far, and he's got the opportunity to get past Smith, who's now drifted back to where he started, but he might get a position, because in the foreground you would have noticed that Kip Stevens is running wide going through the first corner, and through, potentially, could go Mark Johnston. These two had a bit of contact here a lap ago. This time, no such issues, and Johnston is through.
Yeah, he's just gone and taken the advantage there. Just got to sort of I'm trying to get my words out, and it's not working for me. Identify your opportunities. I've said that about 4 times this evening anyway. Paul Smith then under attack from Dave Baker. I was saying in race 1, Dave always says he's better at defending than he is attacking, but he's got to do the opposite now. He's got to try and move forward ever further. He obviously did a great job in race 1 of gaining loads of places, and he's trying to add Paul Smith to his tally here for 6th place. Which is ironic, because that's where Dave always ends up.
Yeah, it's the magic 6. Unfortunately for this one, Dave Baker's in number 5 opposed to number 6, which is his usual number. He's going to try and go around the outside of Westfield Bend, but Paul Smith's done well to carry the speed on the inside, but it looks like it's just not going to be enough unless he pokes it up the inside going into Sheen. No, he doesn't, and through he goes. Chaz, with your Kia knowledge from the club series a few years ago, is it relatively straightforward to defend in the Kia, especially around a track like Brands, where it's not the widest track in the world?
It's difficult around here because you've got to be very sort of marginal on the brakes. There's a lot of corners where you've got to be gradual on the brakes to get it turned in nice and smooth, not sort of dip it and just keep sort of like letting off then dip the brakes again, because otherwise the nose just digs in and it just understeers wide. It's the same story on the throttle. Sutton down the inside of Hall and into the side of Rob Graham there, giving him a bit of a hip and shoulder, and unfortunately taking him straight off into the gravel. But yeah, you've got to be smooth around here, especially when defending. As we look back now, you'll see Sutton cut to the inside, down the inside of Michael Hall. In short, no, it's not easy. But Rob Graham goes down there. It's just that curb, that bounce on the curb just sort of locked the cars together, didn't it? It was probably more of an incident than it needed to be, thanks to the physics there, if anything, I'd say. But if we look back now then, and Sutton is in 11th place chasing down Sakovic.
Well, this is the first time that we've checked in on Ash Sutton since the start of the race, and he has gained 19 places. Looking here at Paul Smith again, who seems to be in the thick of the action in this one, and he's trying to keep Malcolm at bay. Some of the best lap times to run you through, just so I can give you a running order of what it's looking like at the front. It's 30.1 last time around for Martin Front, 30.2 for Max Wright, 29.7 for Jack McIntyre. So he's lapping about half a second quicker than the two guys at the front, and with just half of the race completed, it might be a tall order to get there just before the end, because at least on my screen anyway, it says 3 seconds between Max Wright and Jack McIntyre. Here's the battle though for 12.
Yeah, we're looking now at Stephen Baxter, who is defending from Pete Newman in the CQR Academy car. Pete getting a bit of a wobble on there into turn 1. He's got Jamie Rushworth behind him as well, who's going to take advantage of that. What you might think here as well, speaking of advantages, Alex Simpson's trying to get in on this as well. You might think that as Pete Newman, you'd let Rushworth through to try and attack Baxter and sort of loosen him up. Big contact there, that was Foggy, and I think actually that Harrod, sorry, as we clicked to Pete then, my brain just said what I saw. Pete Newman, I think, has got issues with that car then. He's letting them guys pass. He seems to be having steering trouble. As you can see, the car's not exactly straight. He's getting it going down the straight, but it looks like it's struggling really. You can visually see it's just not got the run out the corner. You're expecting to see Pete Harrod probably go past any time soon, as the Apex cars disappear off into the distance there, Savidovic and Davis.
They're not the most aerodynamically dependent cars in the world, the Kia Optima, but when you have front end damage like that, it can hurt you. As round the outside goes, that was this immortal car of Adam Hadfield there. Great job there by Hadfield. 15 positions gained. He's been plugging away here, sporting the number 46 for this one. Good picture of Lando Norris attempting something of a motorbike on Instagram if you follow social media. Here's Paul Smith again, and he's got Rob Graham. Oh, and I think that's revenge, is it? I think between Ash Sutton and the Automech Not Killed car there of Scott Malcolm, or maybe teammates having communications with each other there. I wonder if Rob Graham might have said to Scott Malcolm, give him one from me, will you, going into the first corner. But either way, it's a CQR surge to the front here, and Paul Smith, who used to drive for CQR, drove for the Academy team, is now having to defend from his former colleagues as they go through Druid.
Yeah, he's really getting his elbows out now, Paul. He's going to try and make that car as wide as he can then to defend from Ash Sutton and Michael Hall. They're side by side behind him, just ganging up here. It's going to be maybe a case of when, not if here. Paul Smith still down the inside. Ash is trying to carry it round the outside, and he may well have done it as well. Brilliant stuff there as Sakovic and Malcolm get side by side down the straight. Robin door handles. There's a Northern Lights car on the grass. Paul coming across on Mike. It's just absolute chaos down the straight.
Well, if it was Laidlaw on his inside, I wonder how that would have panned out. Paul, and Sakovic has been hit by Baxter, and he's out of control. And he somehow holds on to it.
Yeah. That's Foggy, is it, on the grass on the inside? Simpson's in the thick of it as well. He's gained a few places from this. Jamie Rushworth's in there. Savidovic is there as well. Still side by side though for Sakovic and Malcolm. Sakovic concedes for now. Tries to get the cutback, but this is just an absolute sea of multicolour. Sakovic back down the inside, contact with Malcolm, saves it because it's a front wheel drive car and you can just plant it. There's cars braking to avoid each other down the straight. Rushworth being the main sort of culprit of that. Sakovic back round the outside of Malcolm, and he might have got that done.
Oh.
Brilliant stuff by the Polish driver.
Oh,
Ahead of them, Smith is round.
Yeah, Smith's DQ'd as well. It's a shame. And
Baxter's going down as well, actually. Baxter's flying on the order too.
Yeah, I can see him. He's from the helicopter. He's just on the inside of the tyre barrier, going through clearways. Here comes Alex Simpson, one of the biggest movers in the field. He's trying to get past one of the Club Series champions. We were just mentioning that series a few moments ago, and he's going to get past Maciek Sakovic. He does. He's up into 9th. That's 16 places gained. Here comes Jamie Rushworth, former BSRTC champion back in 2014. He's really trying to get past Nicole Foggy here, going into Surtees. Nicole Foggy, one of the championship contenders, of course, and Rushworth understeering into the side of Sakovic, and that's Sakovic gone, and Foggy's gone as well. DQs for them both. Disqualifications are mounting up, Chaz.
I was just about to say they had really dangerous overlaps there, where it wasn't enough to sort of just bounce off the side of each other. It was like the sort of overlap that when you do make contact, someone is going to have an accident, and that's just what happened there. And unfortunately, because of how close all three of them were together, it just sort of was like a domino effect into the middle, and a bit of a combined with a bit of a Newton's cradle, and then that was that, and off they go.
Did he just apply 4 X's to them all then, really, in the end, or was something like that anyway? Yeah,
something of that order anyway.
Well, yeah, what a shame for those guys, and we've lost quite a few of the people inside the top 10 over the last few laps. Alex Simpson somehow managed to survive all that, and
Scott Malcolm is in the pits apparently.
Yeah, Scott Malcolm, he'd leapt to the top of the timing screens, which implies that he towed back to the pits. So that's the end of the second race for Scott Malcolm. With still 3 laps to go, it means that he's not going to be, unless he gets the car repaired in time, he's going to be over 1 lap down and out with a shout of getting involved in the reverse grid. But we're looking here at the battle for second place, and you will notice that Jack McIntyre has got past Max Wright. That's what's happened, and that's a crucial move, yes, Chaz, with a few laps to go, because it's now got an 0.8 of a second gap to reduce, and then he'll be with Martin front, 2 pro drivers going at it for the final few laps of the race.
Yeah, definitely will. It's shaping up to be a good battle if McIntyre can just get there. He needs to just not worry about Max Wright behind him now and just push on and chase front down. He's one of my favourite drivers to watch in the MX5 series is McIntyre. He just gets his head down and just gets on with it. If you needed any sort of example as to how quick McIntyre is, you need to watch their race meeting from the Charlotte Road course last season. I think he won 2 of the 4 races over the night, and I don't think he finished any lower than 4th. And that includes 2 reverse grid. I say that though, I thought he disqualified then. My heart was in my mouth. He's still somehow up there, but I should know this by now. He doesn't have the greatest internet in the world, it seems. He has the odd flash for every race meeting, so that really made me jump then. I thought he'd gone, but he's still up there. He's plugging away. He's trying it.
Oh god, yeah, I thought he got the 1X, and I thought that was going to be enough for him to get disqualified there. He lapped exactly the same lap time there, down to 0.1 of a second between himself and Martin front on that last lap. So he's now got 3 laps to try and close the gap up. 0.7 of a second between them in real time going into Druids at turn 2. You'll have also seen the graphic a few laps back of how the gaps changed over the last few laps, and it definitely has come down. Pete Newman, you can also see there, his lap time was in green, which means it was a new personal best from him. And with just a few laps to go now, things are starting to heat up. Biggest mover, no surprises, it's Ash Sutton. He's gained 23 positions, now sitting in 7th place. We look here at Pete Newman, who is in 15th place now after incurring all that damage earlier on in the race. But just in front of him, there was a close battle there between Nathan Davis and this immortal car of Adam Hadfield. And the Welshman Davis trying to get past Hadfield going into Hawthorns, but no way through there. But he might be able to get him on the exit. Close battle here between a pro driver and a pro-am driver here.
Yeah, it certainly is. I was just about to say Adam Hadfield's the highest AM driver in the field, but actually it's Wright and Johnston who is 3rd and 4th at the moment. There's just a big gap between the two, so with having terrible eyesight, didn't notice that. Hadfield was always quick in the Club Series, to be fair. He had, I believe he was with, I can't remember what they were called now, it was something like Good Advice Racing or something. But they were really quick, actually, in the latter seasons of the championship, and Adam was always up there. He just got caught up in quite a lot of incidents quite often. Normally not always his fault either, to be honest, but it's good to see him back on the track. I've not seen him for a while, as we see Dave Baker now down the inside of Mark Johnston. Bit of front panel to front panel there, might see a bit of that on the weekend. Johnston's still on the inside then, they've got Kip Stevens behind them, and then Ash Sutton still waiting in the wings in 7th place. Cut back manoeuvre there by Baker, that's beautiful. Beautiful stuff. Mark's going to be wary of it now. Dave's already, he's negated the overlap and he's away.
Typical typical touring car move going into Druids there by Dave Baker. And here comes Kip Stevens, who's definitely done a few of them over the past. It's the gearbox cam that we're looking at here, going into Hawthorns. And rounding outside, that's brave. Kip Stevens will immediately fill that gap that he opened up. But well done to Johnston there. Stevens hits him. That's the tap there going through Westfield Bendon. Once again, putting your foot down on the pedal, on the accelerator pedal, the loud pedal, brings the Kia Optima back around again. And what a fantastic scrap this is with just a few laps to go. It's Baker getting hit by Mark Johnston, and then it's Kip Stevens and then Ash Sutton. And Kip Stevens will be getting a bit agitated because he knows that Ash Sutton is coming in. And there he goes up the inside.
Yeah, Ash makes himself very well known there, just pops it up the inside, and yeah, you couldn't have timed that better, I don't think. We've got a nice view of the alternator as well inside Mark Johnston's car there just a moment ago. But this battle is probably going to go on right to the end now. We're on to the last lap of the race. Martin Front still leading the way, but he's only half a second ahead of McIntyre now. Gap hasn't come down by much, so he might hold it to the end. But this is where the excitement's going to be now, as Ash Sutton tries to get past Mark Johnston on the last lap without losing the place to Stevens. Stevens may just play it safe for the rest of the race, I'd say. But it's all on Dave Baker now. He's got a bit of a wobble on out of there, actually. He doesn't tend to lose any ground from it. I think Johnston backed out a bit after they made contact there, so good of him to leaving the spaces. Sutton's going to try the cutback, as far as I'm aware. He's got a good run. You've got to think he's going to get it done down the straight.
I think at best Sutton's going to get 5th place here. I don't see him getting past Dave Baker before the end. The gap at the front is just 0.4 of a second, so Martin Front for now is in a relatively stable position as go through Hawthorns. Different lines getting taken there by both Sutton and Johnston. Now Westfields. You can also see that Johnston's trying to have a go at Dave Baker here as we go through Westfield now, through Dingle Dullen, up towards Sheen Curve. Here is the front three though, and this could get pretty interesting. This is Jack McIntyre trying to get past Martin Front. He's going to have one opportunity, or it could be like the British touring cars in 2009 when Tom Chilton and Jason Plato went at it to the finish line in a drag race. Don't think it's going to be that. Martin Front is just going to hold on. He's led from the front for most of the race, and he's going to take the victory here. Martin Front wins race 2 of the day here in the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship. Jack McIntyre 2nd, Max Wright 3rd, and 4th is just going to be Dave Baker. Mark Johnston, in the end, is able to keep Ash Sutton at bay, and then Kip Stevens finishes in 7th, and I think Ash Sutton got DQ'd just after the line there. So perfect timing there. Everybody else now streaming across the line. Everybody pretty close together as well. That's the nature of this Brands Hatch GP layout. But Martin Front, he was able to establish the lead early on, Chaz, and he had just enough in him to make sure that Jack McIntyre couldn't get to him with a few laps to spare. And what a great job it was for the Scuderia Haggis driver to get the win there. Yeah, it definitely was. It was flashbacks of me getting my win here in the Club Series, to be fair. He got a lead early on, drove away with it, but he didn't have the biggest of gaps, but he still had to defend a bit and just got the job done. It was just nicely done. Really, really classy drive by Martin Front. He's got a clean car, no incident points the whole race as well, which is a great effort round here when you're trying to win the thing. So yeah, fantastically driven. He showed a lot of maturity in his driving there. It was also a great drive by Jack McIntyre, to be fair. He had a bit of a abysmal race 1. He started in the top 10, had 2 incidents and dropped down, so it's nice to see him making up for that. And the same with Dave Baker as well. Not a great qualifying, but he gained 11 places in that one and finished 4th, so a good score of points for Dave there. Mark Johnston as well, and obviously Max Wright winning the AM category in that one. Only lost 1 place in the start, and also Met Knockhill can be really happy with that. Yeah, if you're going to be a champion in this series, you need to take advantage of the reverse grid races. At least make it, at least have one good race. That's what I meant. As Martin Front comes into the pit lane, everybody has crossed the line, and that means that we can take a look at the finishing classification here for the second race of the day in the British Sim Racers Touring Car Championship. There it is on your screen. Martin Front wins then. It's a 1-2 for Scuderia Haggis as well, with Jack McIntyre finishing in 2nd, Max Wright in 3rd, 4th for Dave Baker, 5th for Mark Johnston, and then Ash Sutton finishing in 6th. Kip Stevens in 7th place in the end, then Michael Hall 8th, 9th for Alex Simpson, and then 10th for Jamie Rushworth. Cars are starting inside the top 10. We didn't have many. Most of the pit cars at the front did, but from about 6th on back, most of them managed to fight their way into the top 10. 11th, Pete Harrod, a driver I know that Chaz knows well, and I'm sure Chaz is pretty impressed with how he's progressed since winning those 2 Club Series titles. 12th is Wojciech Savidovic, the reigning champion. 13th, Adam Hadfield. 14th, Jack Sedgwick. 15th for Ross McFarlane. Then Pete Newman, 16th in the end with that damaged car. He lost 1 more position after we last checked in on him there. Then 17th, Rob Graham. Him and Ash Sutton had a bit of elbows out in Paddock Hill Bend. Then Rusty Laidler finishing in 18th. 19th place finish for Jake Blackhall. 20th for Chris Wood. Sven Glatzel, the German, finishing in 21st place. And Lee Deemer, the Welshman, 22nd. Colin Cunniff in 23rd place. Carl Jacquelet in 24th. Mark Woodhouse 25th, then Nathan Davis finishing in 26th place. 27th for Will Daniels, 28th for Dave Crozier, and then the cars 1 lap down or more. Brian Holmes, the last car 1 lap down. If we get a full -1, it will be Crozier on the pole. Then 5 laps down, Maciek Sakovic disqualified along with Nicole Foggy. Then Scott Malcolm 5 laps down as well. Stephen Baxter 6, and then Paul Smith. Very unfortunate for him, he got disqualified. Baxter, I don't know if he got disqualified or maybe even retired after what happened on the exit of Clearways. Then Adam McNally 10 laps down, and then at the back of the field, Christian Rose, who got turned around at the exit of Druids and had way too much damage to continue. I don't know how far the damage model is advancing on iRacing, Chaz, but I did notice that the bonnet on Christian Rose's car was gone in that collision. I don't know whether that's the early signs of the updated damage model, but either way, Christian Rose will be hoping for a better final race.
Yeah, definitely. It was a shame for him to get caught up in that incident, but like we were saying, it's the nature of the beast around here. It's a very feisty series, and to be fair, the fantastic circuit of Brands Hatch brings that out in these drivers. It's an absolute jewel of the British racing circuit, and obviously with the real-life BTCC going there this weekend, I'm sure everyone's going to want to do especially well tonight, so they can go there in person and see where their triumphs came from.
Yeah, DTM. I think the DTM drivers once likened racing at this circuit to racing in a washing machine. They were racing on the Indy circuit back then, but I'm sure racing on the Grand Prix circuit isn't too different. Right then, final reverse grid of the evening about to come up, and this means we get to bring in Sam Kumo again, and he can spin the wheel. He'll be able to tell us who's on pole for the final race of the day.
Yep, the wheel is spinning and we are ready to go. It's gonna be another amazing one. It's full -1.
Full -1 then. That's gonna be, cheers Sam, that's gonna be Dave Crozier on the pole, Team Mad. So Team Mad back at the front. Will Daniels gonna be in second for Scuderia Haggis. They got a 1-2 in this second race. They got a car starting on the front row here for the final race of the day. Nathan Davis is back up at the front again. Mark Woodhouse starting in 4th. Woodhouse did win around here back in the Club Series. That was Andrew Woodhouse on that occasion. We sent him our best wishes. He's currently fighting a bit of ill health. And then starting 5th on the grid is going to be Colin Cunniff. So, just to run you back through that again, that's Crozier, Daniels, Davis, Woodhouse and Jacquelet starting in 5th place. That's the top 5 for the final race of the day. And we'll be back after the break here on Apex Racing TV to see what will happen in race 3 of the BSRTC.
Multiple iRacing members to team up and race together, just like in real-world endurance series. Teammates can share driving duties, spot for one another, or be a crew chief. Team racing is free, both to join a team and to create one. Each teammate races on his or her own computer from wherever they want to. Your teammates can be anywhere in the world, and changing drivers mid-race is as easy as a click of a button. iRacing features team endurance events ranging from just a couple of hours to 24 hours in length. So, if you fancy taking part in an iRacing endurance race in the future, you can learn more about team racing on the teams page on the member website.
My name is Stephen Corpenos. I'm a senior web developer here at iRacing, and I work on the beta UI. It's funny because iRacing has been around for 10 years, but we want to keep delivering the best possible user experience to our customers, and we've found that the old UI isn't exactly what we're trying to deliver in 2018. We want to use new features and provide the best possible experience when using the sim. One of the projects that I've been working on is some custom heat racing configuration for hosted races. We've been listening to our customers. Everyone's been asking for custom heat races. Maybe you want to tweak a few things with the preset iRacing configurations. Well, now you can using the Beta UI. So once you're at the home page of the Beta UI, you just go to Create a Race. Then from there you go to your Set Race options. And you'll notice here under event types, you can actually choose heat racing. First, I'm going to show you how to create a new format from scratch. You can choose the number of entrants. And as you can see, when I made that change, the change was actually reflected on the right side in the graph. Also, you can use the estimated duration at the bottom of the graph when you're changing the length to see what the total duration of your event will be. In addition, you can customize every aspect of the session information, practice, qualifying, heat races, consolations, and of course, the final feature race. Because the Beta UI allows us to develop features that are robust and complex, this feature will be exclusively available on the Beta UI. Once you've made all of the changes, you can hit Save. Say you forgot what you selected. You can always preview it using the Preview Format button. We are very excited to release the brand new heat racing configuration feature that will be available in Season 3 of iRacing.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real-world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing. Once again, photo finish here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerrick at the line.
Hi there, I'm Richard Jobling, Senior Software Engineer here at iRacing. I'd like to show you some of the work that we've been doing to improve the collision and the damage in our sim. One of the major changes we've made is how our collision systems work. The old system stored the track as parametric surfaces, and the cars were made of collections of spheres. As the cars moved around the track, we would recompute planes using the track surfaces and then test those against the spheres. This worked well for spheres, but was too specialized to adapt to our shapes. So for the new system, we've built new high-resolution meshes for each track. This is more efficient and gives us a lot more flexibility for the car shapes. The new mesh incorporates all the track features our guys work so hard to replicate. Things like curb geometry and changes in the surface material are all baked into the mesh. We've also taken our laser scan data and applied that to the mesh. And since the mesh is so high resolution, we capture all the detail that's necessary so that the tracks are just like the real thing. With our new mesh, we can now represent cars using smooth, convex hulls, which grouped together form the chassis, the bodywork, and all the other parts of the car. The new shapes are a much closer fit to the shape of the real car. During impacts, the shapes can deform according to the damage, and eventually they can break off as separate objects. All the parts, like wings, hoods, and wheels, can also hang from their joints, flapping and vibrating until they eventually snap off. All these changes are going to add a whole new level of realism to our races. If you want to find out more, please visit iRacing.com and check out my blog post for lots more details.
Hi, my name is Greg Hill. I'm the Vice President of Art and Production here at iRacing. This damage project that we've been discussing is certainly a project that involved all hands on deck to pull off. We've got a rather sizable number of cars in our portfolio, and not all of these cars have been built with this dynamic damage system in mind. So what we had to do is one by one go through our race cars, and we had a team of 3 artists, a highly technical modeler, our technical art director, and our associate art director. All took on each car one at a time, and the work involved was researching that car, researching what would happen to that car if it were in a crash, depending on the forces involved in the crash, how severely it would be damaged, what parts might come off, what those pieces might look like when they're removed, what it would look like where the car has areas exposed that were previously covered by bodywork. So they had to do a lot of modeling to each race car, and they had to do a lot of work to essentially set up how the car would react to forces. So essentially setting the strength of the materials. What kind of force would it take to rip off this side pod, for example? Or under what circumstances would this nose cone get ripped off of a car? Or under which would it remain, but just be badly damaged? But all said, it's been a lot of work, but seeing the car models interact with the physics system and the new crash dynamics is really exciting and really cool to see, and definitely makes all that hard work worth it.
Hi, my name is Jose Diaz. I'm a visual effects artist at iRacing. I specialize in particle effects ranging from fireworks to water fountains, debris, crash, impacts, all in the service of improving the driving experience. So you have the main sort of new damage model that Richard's been working on. So that takes into consideration all the mounts and the chassis from the cars and which materials they are. And he's making all the calculations that tell you, like, okay, it got hit from this one side and the strength of that impact is this certain amount of values. If you hit something, that means that this mount gets off, something breaks. This gets added on top of that to sort of complement what is happening there with things that you would see in real life when a car crashes. So typically in a car crash, you will see all these little particles of dust, metal, scratches that will take all that force and momentum and kind of explode in a way. And it's all being driven by how fast the car was coming, how hard the impact was against what, that will give you that sense of like, man, that person really crashed hard, or oh, it was just a small bump.
Hi, my name is Chris Lurch. I'm one of the vehicle dynamicists here at iRacing. Our role in the collision project is to tune the collision properties of each and every car to ensure that they behave in wrecks as a real car would. And we've spent quite a bit of time going through literature from the automotive industry on the subject to make sure that we have panels that deform the way they're supposed to, both temporarily and permanently, that pieces that don't deform but rather just break at appropriate times in appropriate ways. The cars are absorbing energy the way they should and aren't sort of bouncing off the walls in crazy ways. The major properties that we look at are stiffnesses, which is how much a piece of the car deforms when a load is applied to it. And then we look at a couple of limits. One is the force limit beyond which the piece deforms permanently. And then the second limit that we look at is the brake limit, the force limit beyond which the piece will simply break. And then we also will look at damping, which is how much the piece absorbs energy versus how much it takes like a spring and can absorb as potential energy and then rebound back out like a basketball would.
We're back here at Brands Hatch for the final race of the day. We're on the grid, getting set for race 3. Join me in the commentary box again. It's Chaz Draycott. We're running through the grid then with just 30 seconds to go. It's Dave Crozier on the pole. Then it's Will Daniels in second, Nathan Davis in third. Then it's Mark Woodhouse, Carl Jacquelet, Colin Cunniff, and then Lee Deem. Then Sven Glatzel, Chris Wood, and Jake Blackcall. And not enough time to go through all of them. Not enough time to chat to Chaz either, because here come the lights. We're away. As usual, the front-wheel drive car slides towards that inside barrier. That does that in the real British Touring Car Championship, but it's a great start by Will Daniels. He's going to take the lead into the first corner. Oh, the Team Mad cars all over the place. Crozier struggling for grip. Nathan Davis is going to be ending up in the lead here if he plays his cards right going into Druids as we look from the camera overlooking the first two corners, and he is through. So Nathan Davis from third on the grid to the lead, and it's all sorts of kicking off behind as go through Graham Hill Bend. There's Apex cars right up against one another, and just about 3 or 4 wide in places. Chaz, CQR cars trying to work their way through the field too.
Yeah, one of the Apex cars has just been turned into the wall, and it's Alex Simpson. Alex is out. He's been wearing my number 22 for this race, and it's obviously proved unlucky for him. I think he got in touch with one of the CQR cars. There's about 5 of them in a row. There's Harrod, Sutton, Newman, Rushworth and Hall. They're all in the midfield where Ash was based at the time of the incident. Christian Rose is actually bringing up the back of the field out of the people still running at the moment as well, unfortunately. But at the sharp end, it is an Apex car leading the way as we look at Paul Smith down the inside. Oh, everyone's going off there. That was Smith and Crozier. Now down the inside of them, they've got, who is that actually in the CQR car? That's Russell Laidler. He's getting through as well, and they've got the number 16 car, Colin Cunniff there. A lot of AM drivers in this, while the pro driver Nathan Davis is running away with it. I'll say he's running away with it. Look at William Daniels and Sven Glatzel right behind him then going into the final corners. Oh, that was number 4. That was Michael Hall out of the race. And I think Jacquelet went with him as well in the Vortex Race Flow car. Might have to have a quick ganders back at that.
Yeah, that was back on the exit of Stirling's Bend. First lap completed, then here's a replay. And we're looking here at Jamie Rushworth, who is alongside Michael Hall going into this, going into Stirling's. So Jacquelet gets hit, goes back across the circuit. Oh my word! And Michael Hall gets vaulted into the air. Yeah,
he made contact with the back of Kip Stevens' car there, and it just hopped up into the sky as we see him coming back to the pits. Not such a straight car, let's say.
Yeah, he's joined in the pits by Alex Simpson, who will be needing the points. I know he's eager to get as many as he can so he can get into the showdown, because it's not too many weeks away now. The final few races of the season. But yeah, end of the opening lap then. It's Davis leading, Glatzel second. Will Daniels is now in third, so you will have noticed a change for position there as Glatzel is now ahead. It's going to be a Haggis car. Then it's Lader in fourth. Fifth is Mark Woodhouse. Sixth, Colin Cunniff. Then it's Chris Wood, Dima, Jake Blackhall and Jack Sedgwick rounding out the top 10.
And we've got Glatzel setting purple sectors across the whole lap at the moment. He's absolutely flying, chasing down Nathan Davis for the lead then. You've got to think that Sven's going to take the opportunity of being ahead with not many pro drivers that close behind, that he's going to try and get a win out of this one. Depends how well Davis defends it, I suppose. As we look at Cunniff now all over the back of Mark Woodhouse with Chris Wood behind him. Down the inside then goes Glatzel as he tries. Oh, Davis tries to get a cutback. They're both somehow still on the road, but this is going to be helpful for William Daniels now. He's going to try and take the advantage here. Glatzel won't be happy about the contact, but Nathan's not going to back down. He's still going to fight him. I suppose it's pretty even. Stevens going into here now. On the curb, he's going to wash out wide a little bit. Maybe a bit of contact as they go up the hill. Still on the inside. William Daniels is going to be watching this in anticipation. Oh, he's just wide there a little bit. It's Davis. Glatzel still in second now. And somehow they're all still on track, but behind them is Russell Laidler and Mark Woodhouse. They're going to be closing in as well.
You can notice there that Jack Sedgwick's out. He was running up there. May have been a disqualification. Who knows? We'll hopefully get that found out. As here comes Martin Front. He was the race 2 winner from earlier. Obviously got put right to the back after the full -1, and he's right in the mix here. He's got championship contenders for company too. There's Nicole Foggy. There's Steve Baxter. They're separated by just Martin Front. That's what's going on here as they go down the Pilgrim's Drop. Baxter into the back of his colleague at Northern Lights Racing. And now here comes the Automech car. The Front's definitely gone now.
Yep.
Gonna hit the wall as well. Bang. Out.
Did that all himself. He got a wheel on the grass going into the right-hander, and that's how easy it is to unsettle this car. It's not a machine that's made a downforce. That's Blackhall getting tail smacked out of the way there by Sedgwick. It's actually, sorry, it was Dima. Sedgwick's in the other car there that's fighting with him. I apologise to Sedgwick there for accusing him. Dima then getting his elbows out, him and Blackhall getting into a bit of contact, but behind them now is Ash Sutton, so he might be able to get a bit of retribution for his teammate. We'll have to see.
Dave Crozier into the pits. Sorry to Jack Sedgwick, by the way, about saying he was out. He definitely isn't. Here is the battle for the lead, though. It's Davis versus Glatzel Part 2 here, going into Druids. And Davis has got it done this time. Flapper they were locking brakes, they were trail braking, they were doing everything to try and hold the lead. And now Nathan Davis has regained the lead, but crucially, for now anyway, Chaz, it looks like Sven Glatzel has a bit less damage to the front of his Kia Optima, and that might be crucial when we go down the front straight and also the Pilgrim's Droppers. Here's Jake Blackhall.
Oh, wow, we didn't see that on the timing screens, and that's McFarlane getting caught up with him as well. Real shame there for Blackhall. That's twice over the space of about a lap he's been taken out. Glatzel round the outside now of Davis, side by side. There's a bit of contact. He's on the grass. Davis gives him all the room now on the outside, but it's not the ideal line through there. He's going to use a lot of that AstroTurf as they come down through Dingledale. Oh, there's contact with... Oh, that's really... Is he going to save it? No, he's around. Daniels is completely around. He's got it in reverse. He's going to try and keep it out of the wall. A little bit of contact there. That's not going to do too much to the car. Is he going to tow it back? I believe he is, yeah. Really unfortunate there. Not quite sure it was that made contact with him. It might have been... was it Woodhouse that caught him there? I'm not quite sure. It might have been Laidler or one of the other guys in that battle as well. As we have a look back then, thank you very much, Samuli. It's going to be Laidler. Laidler's alongside him, although he does just come across on him, to be honest. You've got to think that, because there was an overlap and Laidler was really up against the grass, so you've kind of got to put that on him, on himself, really. He came over to the left, didn't he? Yeah,
he's towed back to the pits, because you were right about that. Unfortunate. I was just about to comment on Laidler, saying he's probably one of the king of defenders as he gets turned sideways going for the first corner. What a battle this is. Nicole Foggy's in there too. One of the championship contenders who are mentioning that's going into this race meeting. Tell you what, the showdown's going to be fantastic. We've got so many good drivers in there, the likes of Savidovic, Foggy, Steve Baxter's really come to the fore this season, many others as well. All ready to give a go for the BSRTC Pro Series, a championship that's been running since the start of March. Now at the end of September, we're going into October soon, and the championship continues to roll on. And yeah, this is Nicole Foggy, sat in 17th place. Biggest mover so far, no surprises. Joint mover, it's Nicole Foggy, Steve Baxter and Ash Sutton. There we go, there's been a crash. It's Steve Dima. Oh, and there's an Apex car as well.
Wojciech.
That's Wojciech.
Savidovic,
the reigning champion.
Absolutely battered into the wall. You've got to think there, did someone turn to the right to avoid Dima, or was there contact with Dima actually? Let's have a look then. They go around the right-hander. Wojciech's on the outside. Oh, he runs out of room, doesn't he? What happens to Wojciech? Oh, he catches the other one. He catches the two immortal cars. Then he's going to be sick of seeing that colour, that bright green, then for a good few weeks now. It's a real shame that for Wojciech. Not really much they could have done, to be fair. They just sort of ran out of room, didn't they? And then it was Davis and Glatzel off, and Woodhouse to the front of the pack. Laidler up to third. Cunniff is second.
I didn't want to say it was on the cards, but it's well and truly happened now, and Mark Woodhouse leads the race. For Team Mad, Colin Cunniff's in second. It's going to be Pro-Am versus Pro for the win here. And then it's Laidler in third, Davis fourth, Chris Wood fifth, Jack Sedgwick sixth, Sven Glatzel after all, that's now in seventh. Nathan Davis, he's definitely come off worse for wear. He is in, so let's look down the timing screens. He's in fourth. There you go, sorry Nathan, didn't see you there. Davis is in fourth, Glatzel's in seventh. And he's trying to get one of the positions back already. He's up the inside of Laidler. Laidler's going to be tough to pass. I know that from, I think we all know that from our experiences in the Kia at some point. And Davis is able to get past on that occasion. And Chris Wood, he fancies his chances too.
Nearly contact there as well as they go through Westfield down the dip then. But it's all come good for Woodhouse then. He's always been consistent and always just been one of those guys that's just up there. He's still got Cunniff behind him though. He's not going to let him off at all. Cunniff's going to sniff that win and try and get there. He is in the pro category compared to Woodhouse in the AM, but he's good at defending his mark. I mean, like you were saying about Laidler, with your experience in the Kia, you know that from the club series, Woodhouse was difficult to pass. He just got better and better every week. As we look back now at this train of cars, and the top 5 cars are covered by just over 2 seconds. Sorry, the top 8 cars are covered by just over 2 seconds, so it's really close as Woodhouse a little bit wide there through Paddock Hill Bend. Goes defensive on Cunniff. You've got to think, is it going to be a case of when, not if, for Cunniff here as he runs wide though. Davis is going to try and take advantage of that. This might back the field up a little bit then. Sutton at the back of this train as well. He's going to be trying to lock on targets as Davis does a little bit of grass tracking there.
Cunniff's a man on a mission. Oh, sorry, not Cunniff. Davis is a man on a mission here. Cunniff, the chaser, got pushed back a few steps there after running a bit wide going into Druids. And Mark Woodhouse, he's fighting for the Pro-Am Championship here, and it's very close. He's only 34 points away from Maciek Sakovic, the leader. Another driver that's in front of him in the Pro-Am category is Rusty Laidler, and there he is in 4th place. So we've got Pro-Am title contenders in this scrap for the lead. Chris Wood's also a Pro-Am contender as well. Most of Team Mad are. And then Michael Blake in 5th in the Pro-Am category. So that's your rundown of that class. I don't know, we did the Drivers' Championship at the beginning of the broadcast, but it's foggy from Baker Wojciech. That's going to change a bit, I think, tonight, especially if Wojciech picks up a 0 from his crash earlier.
Yeah, it's really going to shake things up for him, that is, to be fair. I mean, Baker is actually out of the race as well, apparently. He's down in 27th place. Christian Rose is out of the race as well. I'm really not sure what's happened to those boys. They've dropped off more recently, actually, as we take a look back now then. Here is Baker. With Stevens. Foggy's in the battle as well. Let's have a look. He just gets caught by Stevens as he runs wide. And he's not going to get clipped by his teammate, is he? Oh, he's not.
Is that DQ, is it? Or was that? Oh, no, he got that going again.
Yeah, it's just very broken, isn't it? Yeah, it's very broken. Really a shame for Dave Baker, that.
Yeah, you wouldn't think a tyre barrier could do that much damage. But there you go. Here's the battle for 16th place. Steve Baxter, the man who sits in 5th in the championship, is involved here, along with Kip Stevens, who sits in 8th. Amazing how many, after all these years, Kip Stevens seems to always find himself inside the top 10 as number 25 goes for a bit of a slide.
And that's Max Wright. He's got points for style there, but he's it's not going to help his championship fight out.
You'll find that on another game that's about to come out this weekend. You get good points for that on that. Here comes Chris Wood, and here comes Laidler, here comes Sedgwick as well. Ash Sutton's in the mix too, and Sven Glatzel, who's looking for redemption here at Brands Hatch. Oh,
big slide by Wood.
Yeah, we nearly had that Seat Leon Euro Cup incident on our hands there on the exit of Sheen Curve. And this battle for what officially is 3rd place on the graphic, but about 5th place on back is anybody's game as we go through the final corner. And just looking in the foreground, the battle for the lead looks very close as well. It's only a 1/10 of a second between Woodhouse and Cunniff as we come across the line onto lap 9 of 14. Woodhouse is doing the perfect defensive drive so far, and Cunniff goes off with him. This is going to allow Nathan Davis the opportunity to get 2nd place going into Druids. Will he take it though? Cunniff who had the mother of all hardware failures at Druids a few years ago, is able to negotiate it this time, but it's going to be between Northern Knights Racing, GT Omega and Apex Racing going into Graham Hill Bend, and Davis looks like he's got the overlap and he's got through. So Davis through into second place, but up the inside goes Cunniff. He's not giving up. He hits him as well. This is all music to Mark Woodhouse's ears. He's already 8/10 of a second up the road.
Yeah, he's going to be loving it. He's going to be looking back in that rearview mirror and watching the relative thinking, go on boys, keep at it, go on. Just keep nudging each other, just don't get disqualified, because that'll open it up for Laidler, and we know that Laidler will be like a scolded cat straight after him. But they're really door-to-door handle here. This is great to watch. This is how it should be every week, driving like this without incident. Laidler then putting the pressure onto Cunniff now. He's down the inside. Got to think he's going to get it done on the brakes. He's brave up there as Laidler gets it turned in. Nicely done, but there's still a slight overlap, so he's got to be careful. Doesn't want to dip a wheel onto the grass on the outside. Ash Sutton then is diving in. He's going to go around the outside. He's just going to get on with it. He's got Cedric there as well, but Sutton just, that was opportunistic as anything. Why not look at him go?
Sutton couldn't win this race, could he? He's got enough time. We've got 3 laps to go when we get to the line. In fact, 4 laps to go. Can't count when we get to the line. We're going to be starting lap 10 of 14 as we go over the line now. Sutton's gained 19 positions. He's not the biggest mover in the field, by the way. That's Nicole Foggy. As up the inside goes Glatzel on Wood, and he's gone. That's a DQ, I think. Oh no, it's back again. As going into, I think he has gone actually. Yeah, he has. He has been disqualified. Yeah, I thought Cunniff then was Glatzel then for a second, but yeah, Sutton up into 3rd place. Nathan Davis better be worried now, because the CQR car is a coming, and Mark Woodhouse will be hoping that Nathan Davis can keep Sutton at bay for as long as he can. Yeah, he's going to be wanting him to play the gunner. They may not be on the same team, but I think they'll both have the same interests at heart here of getting the best finish they can and keeping Ash Sutton behind, but that is much easier said than done. Laidler didn't obviously hold him up too much with them being teammates. He's now going to fight to keep Cedric and Cunniff at bay, who are also pro drivers in this series. Chris Wood is still there in 7th place, and Hadfield, it's got to be said, he's had a really good evening so far. He's gained 8 places. I think he started at the back of the field for the first race, so obviously he didn't get much chance to sort of get a high amount of points. Foggy there, you can see 23 positions gained. Absolutely brilliant stuff by him. Steve Baxter as well, 21. I was only saying earlier on that Steve Baxter was never a name that I actually would have considered as sort of championship material when I first started seeing him racing, and look at him now. It just shows how well people can improve when they're on the service, and it's great for it to happen to such a nice person as well. Steve's always been great to speak to on the just across the whole iRacing service really. So let's just keep an eye on Sutton though. I mean, he's 6/10 quicker than Davis, as I can hear contact there. Someone had a right old whack from something. Not sure what happened and who it was, but this, well, it's Automech. Yeah, it's the Automech lot. They're doing it again. What's happening then? Down the inside, that's Malcolm down the inside of that's Graham, isn't it? It's right, Malcolm, Graham, and in there with them is Brian Holmes, who's going to be having an absolute nightmare of seeing a sea of blue and oranges. Graham and Malcolm are into each other. Holmes is there. There's one of the Simortal cars as well. That's Mark Johnston, who is no longer called Mark Johnston, thanks to Smoothly fixing the overlay. Sagovich is a bit slow in front of them, but Holmes has passed one of them so far. He's just got to get past the other 2 now. And here's Paul Smith as well. He's in 21st place. Oh, bit of contact there. Hit. Yeah, he got squeezed a little bit, didn't he? A bit of a bumper run. It's very close for 4th and 5th, I think. Jack Sedgwick and Rusty Laidler looks like going at it. They're about 1/10 of a second apart on the live timing. Ash Sutton, 13 wins to his name this season in the BSRTC, trying to make it 14, and he's going the right way about it. He's up to 2nd place with 3 laps to go. A little flash of the brake lights there as well. Nathan Davis, no BSRTC wins to his name in this season anyway, and it looks like it's going to continue that way. Mark Woodhouse, also no BSRTC victories this season. Woodhouse hasn't even been on the podium, so he'll be very happy if, even if he does get passed by Ash Sutton with 3 laps to go, that he can hold on to the podium. He has had 11 top 10s though, and he'll be hoping to add to that too, as we've now got just 2.5 laps to go in Sutton. The gap's coming down visually, I think. Chaz, it's down to a 2nd now. Yeah, Mark's he's just got to hit his, well, I was going to say hit all of his marks, but that would be a terrible pun. He's just got to keep it going. That's all he can do. As long as he does his best, then he can hold his head high and just be happy with any result he gets. Even if he gets 2nd or a 3rd, it's still a really respectable result in this series. We've been saying all night of how fiercely contested it is.
And at the end of the day, you've got the outgoing British touring car champion chasing you down. So if he gets past, no one's going to really go, oh, you're rubbish. So, you know, it's one of them where we've just got to see what happens. Mark's just going to keep it going, try and maintain his lead, and I'm sure everyone in his team will be proud of him because he's putting a sterling effort tonight.
Here the tyres absolutely crying out going through Westfield and Hawthorns anyway. I'm sure Ash Sutton will understand that many people will be rooting for the underdog here in Mark Woodhouse, but the gap is now down to 6/10 of a second. It's come down nearly half a second in the space of a lap. I'm sure Mark Woodhouse will have been hoping that it would have been a 13-lap race rather than a 14-lap race. He's now got to try and keep the outgoing British touring car champion at bay for another few kilometres here as we come across the line. 2 laps to go then. Your Pro-Am driver, Mark Woodhouse, lead. No win in the BSRTC this season. He's the second highest driver in the championship to not win. And the other driver is his teammate, Maciek Sakovic. Nathan Davis puts in a new personal best. Could he spring in a late attack here in the whole grand scheme of things? Woodhouse has been doing a fantastic defensive display here so far. Kept Colin Cunniff at bay for the first half of the race. Cunniff's dropped off the ball a little bit since then. And now he's got to keep Sutton at bay. He's going for it already, Chaz.
Yeah, he's just put the car down the inside, made the move, and I think he's already pretty much sorted the overlap out and he's away. Although Mark's still got it, actually. Still side by side down the straight.
Team Madcar is quite a quick machine.
Certainly
Sutton going to go to the outside and... oh! They nearly touched, and they may even just have the tiniest bit of contact, but Sutton is through into the lead then with 1.5 laps to go.
Yeah, it's getting closer and closer with Davis now reeling Woodhouse in. Just trying to monitor the lap time, sorry, by looking at the live timing. But now Sutton's got the lead. He's just going to run away with it.
That 14th win of the season will be his then. So race order as we come around to start the final lap of the race. It's Sutton leading. 22 positions. Off goes Davis, and that's him gone. DQ'd. What happened there?
Not a clue really. I think he might have just stepped on it a bit much out of the last corner.
Well, here's a replay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. 2 wheels on the grass. Oh, and that was enough to generate that 1X, and he's gone. So that will elevate everybody up a position, and it should mean that Jack Sedgwick has that breathing space that he needs to get that first podium in the BSRTC. Sedgwick's now 3rd, Laidler 4th, Cunniff in 5th, then it's Hadfield in 6th, then it's Chris Wood, then Nicole Foggy, and Pete Harrod and Jack McIntyre.
Yeah, it's a real shame that for that to happen there. Just wanted to add that there was quite a bit of comical value of the fact that the tyre mark carried on going when the car had disappeared, but that's just iRacing for you. As we look at Cunniff now, trying to chase down Rusty Laidler, these guys have all moved up a lot of positions. Foggy gaining 24 places, like we were saying earlier, he's just been absolutely on it. Paul Smith's another driver that's been moving up a lot tonight as well. He's 19th, but he's gained 16 places to get there, so he's done a fine job so far. Cunniff then trying to put the, well, speaking of putting the pressure on, actually Chris Wood's doing just that to Adam Hadfield. I don't think he's close enough though to mount a challenge in the last few corners, but it's going to be 2 wins in one evening then for Ash Sutton.
Oh,
and he comes into the... Sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say, he knows this track probably better than anyone here. 37 cars started the race. I think we've only got 22 remaining, and one of them is our leader, Ash Sutton. Checker flag at the ready, and he wins the final race of the day. Mark Woodhouse, first podium in the BSRTC. Bravo, Mark. And then Jack Sedgwick in 3rd. Laidler 4th. Cunniff 5th. Adam Hadfield's going to come home in 6th. Chris Wood 7th. Nicole Foggy, some youthful championship points with the likes of Savidovic failing to score. Then it's Harrod, McIntyre, Stevens, drag race. Paul Smith just pips Hoss McFarlane to the 19th place, and I think that may have been about 100th of a second between them. 14 thousandths of a second. It's close as Nigel Mansell and Ayrton Senna at Jerez in 1986. Very close finish there. And
one of those specific references of the evening. I love it.
There you go. I hope that generates some interest in the YouTube comments anyway. And that is everybody finished. I'm sure Paul Smith will have loved to have been compared to Nigel Mansell anyway. Anyway, we'll run you through the finishing order then as everybody returns to the pits after a great evening. May have been only here for 2 races, but racing here has been fantastic. I'll get the schedule up as well to see where we're heading to next, because BSRTC Circus continues to roll on, and here's the finishing order. Then Ash Sutton wins by 1.7 seconds, and second is Mark Woodhouse. Jack Sedgwick finishing in third, fourth for Rusty Laidler, fifth for Colin Cunniff, then Adam Hadfield finishing in sixth, seventh for Chris Wood, and seventh for Chris Wood, eighth for Nick Olfocki, ninth P. Harrod, and 10th Jack McIntyre. 11th place finish for Kip Stevens, 12th Stephen Baxter, 13th for Pete Newman, 14th for Max Wright, 15th place for Brian Holmes. Much better race there from Brian, and some useful points for Apex Racing in terms of the fight for the team's championship. Of course, the points will get reset for that in the showdown, but Apex trying to gap back up. Then it's Maciek Sakovic in 16th place, Mark Woodhouse's teammate. Then Scott Malcolm in 17th, 18th place for Mark Johnston. Then it's those two very close cars. There's Paul Smith and Ross McFarlane, just a few hundredths of a second in it, 14 hundredths of a second, apparently. Then Rob Graham, Morgan Butler, and that is it, because everybody else after that either crashed or got DQ'd. It has been a very incident-packed evening. So I'm sure many of the cars that did crash that potentially could have carried on probably had enough. And who could blame them in some cases? Nathan Davis disqualified with a few laps to go. That's not going to help Apex Racing's fight, really, because he picked up no points. Sven Glatzel, 5 laps down. He was battling with Nathan Davis for the lead at 1 point. Jamie Rushworth and Dave Baker, 0 points for those two. Both BSRTC champions in the past. Christian Rose, a CQR Academy car. What an awful evening it's been for him. He was the first car out in race 2. Now 0 points again in race 3. Lee Diemer, 10 laps down. Wojciech Savinovic, big name involved there. He was the car that collided with Diemer at the beginning, and then he came back onto the track and hit another Simortal car and went off. He gets 0 points. Will Daniels, the pole sitter for race 2, who didn't start on pole because he has a pit lane start, finishes 11 laps down. Jake Blackhall, 11 laps down, no points for him, being on an Aussie connection, especially around a track like Brands Hatch where it's pretty narrow and you need the space. It's been a tough one for him. Dave Crozier, 12 laps down. Martin Frunz, the race 2 winner, not getting any points here. Adam McNally, 13 laps down. Carl Jacquelet 2. Alex Simpson, no points tonight in race 3. And then at the very back, Michael Hall, not picking up anything. He was the car that was off at Stirling's Bend on the opening lap of the race. And next week, Chaz, we do go to Bathurst. So, a Brands Hatch, potentially a mini Bathurst with quite a few undulating corners, but looking forward to that one.
Yeah, that's a scary prospect, isn't it, putting this many Kias around a track like that, but it always does generate good racing. I never used to be a fan of Bathurst until I was forced to download it for the World GT Championship. We raced around there and I fell in love with it. You see it and think, oh god, it's just a dangerous track, and then you drive it and it's amazing, absolutely amazing place to be. It'll be really good to see these guys attack that as well. I mean, look at them go. They're just absolutely mental, aren't they? But it's it's going to provide good racing. I think people have to be on their toes a lot, and providing there's no major incidents, we should see a really exciting evening. Yeah,
move the walls a bit closer together, and send 40 cars on their way up a mountain, and yeah, the VSRTC, it's probably going to be a very entertaining one. You don't want to miss that. That's next week. We do have a few interviews getting ready though in the interview room. Of course, next week will be the penultimate week before the showdown begins. We've got Mount Panorama at Bathurst. There goes Alex Simpson, by the way, on that replay. And then we've got Suzuka the week after that, and then we've got a week 13, an off week. The showdown begins in earnest. Right, who shall we start with in terms of interviews? We have one driver that was right in the thick of the action. Oh, sorry, Rust.
That's all right.
Cut you off mid-chat. We've dragged you up here because it's been a very exciting final race of the day for you, and you're able to get a 4th place finish, one of your better results of the season, I believe.
Yeah, I'll take that, and it was second in AM class. Firstly, though, I want to congratulate Mark Woodhouse on his AM win, because he didn't put a foot wrong that entire race. I could not catch him, so hats off to Mark. I think Mark needed that to get him back, because he's had some rotten luck recently. So over the moon for Mark to get that AM win and second overall.
Yeah, just looking at the championship standings, even without the showdown, it is very, very close between between you, between Sakovic and Mark Woodhouse as well. As long as there's no major disasters, are you into the AM showdown?
I think I am, because I think I could afford to not race these next 6 races, and I should get in just on the AM wins alone. But I'm not that kind of person. I'm gonna be at every round.
Well,
you never know what happens, eh?
With tracks like Bathurst and Suzuka, I can expect that those could be potentially happy hunting grounds for you. A lot of
I hate Suzuka. I hate Suzuka, but Bathurst is something I wanted ever since going VR. Bathurst was a track I wanted to go to because I wanted to see what it feels like. And so yeah, I'm looking forward to Bathurst. Not so much Suzuka. It's a bit of a bogey track for me.
And at the front as well, you had someone come across the front of you, was going into Sheen Curve early on in the race?
Yeah, I was as far to the left as I could be, and I think poor Will Daniels. I was trying to leave him space, you know, I could see what was going on. I could see there was a fight. I had an overlap on the left-hand side. I was going to yield the corner, and then I was going to lunge for the left-hander. I keep forgetting what it's called. And he just came over on me. And the poor bugger, Will's had absolutely no luck recently because he keeps doing this to people without realising it. And I think the last 3, 4, 5 weeks he's taken himself out. I kind of feel bad for him because his pace was good. He was hanging on the back of Nathan and Glatzel. And I think he might have had in the same thing in the back of my mind. You've got Nathan and you've got Glatzel. That's always going to end in disaster, isn't it? That's always going to end up in a crash. So you just need to sit within touching distance of them, and you'll end up inheriting the lead, because it's inevitable that those two are going to crash. And that's how Mark did it. Mark, right place, right time, and as soon as he got that lead, he was off like a scalded cat. Absolutely unreal.
He did a great job of keeping Colin Cunniff at bay as well. And
I had a cracking battle with Colin. I enjoyed that, and Jack Sedgwick. I had a good battle with him as well. All night it was a pretty good round for me. Race 2 was a bit nervous, I think. I was getting knocked about a fair bit, but I like Brands. This is the first place I did a real race, and so it's a bit like Silverstone. It's always got a special place for me.
Bit of a homecoming. Are you going to cheer on your colleague Ash Sutton this weekend?
Unfortunately, I can't. It's like 360 miles away, so.
Oh right.
I'll be cheering him on from the TV.
Great. Well, before we let you go, then Rusty, do you want to send a quick shout out to anybody?
Yeah, just to all my CQR teammates and for everyone that voted for me in that that straw poll thing that I put up a couple of weeks ago for the Twitch interview. I had that last week and the video's up for that, so I was absolutely over the moon to get that. So yeah, thanks to everyone that voted for that as well, and thanks to you guys for the commentary and all the usual stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain's gone to mush. I'm absolutely exhausted.
Yeah, I think many of the drivers have got the same thing as well. But yeah, been a pleasure as always, and well done on the evening. And yeah, that AM Championship is almost.
It's looking spicy, isn't it?
It is.
It's too close to call.
I think it might even be upstaging the Pro one at this rate. But yeah, all the best, Rusty, and yeah, we'll hopefully see you at Bathurst next week.
Oh, definitely. Thank you very much, mate.
Rusty later there. Chaz, you got the next pick of the victim.
Well, we're going to bring in a good friend of mine, Mr. Paul Smith. Paul, we've seen that you got involved in quite a lot of battles tonight. You were defending for your life for most of it, and even making some manoeuvres. Did you enjoy all that out there tonight?
Yes and no, shall we say. Yeah, it's been an interesting evening, let's just say that. I've been struggling with the car, even though I really like this track, I've been struggling with the car here today. And so it was a case of just trying to score points. Got involved in an incident in race 2 that I did well to keep my cool on my stream, let's just say that. And then race 3, it was a case of battling a little bit, make 1 or 2 moves, and just watch everybody else just fall off the track in front of me. So 35th to 19th, I think, at the end of that one. So I'm happy with that result. It was not bad.
Yeah, we cut to you a few times with a lot of bumping and barging going on. You certainly you kept your cool on the track as well, being knocked about quite a lot. Just a quick one about next week as well, going to Bathurst. Is it a track you particularly enjoy driving on?
No comment. You see, this is where, and I miss him.
Sorry, Paul.
This is where I miss him because a certain Mr. Woodhouse would have mentioned something about Bathurst, but I'm not going to mention it because I never mention it. It's always Woody who does it.
Okay.
So,
Fair enough. I'm not going to dig any deeper into that one then. Just a quick one as well, while we've got you here, with everyone watching. You mentioned something today about a possible charity live stream. Now, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but have there been any sort of further progression since the original post that you've done for that? I mean, have you got info for people, or is it sort of cards close to the chest at the moment?
At the moment, it was literally that tweet and that Facebook post that I put out. Basically, there's a yearly event called the Extra Life, and where you have a 24-hour charity event on November the 3rd this year, and it raises money for the Children's Miracle Network of hospitals out in the States and I believe in Canada as well. And lots of people who are in the Rooster Teeth community always get together and take part in that. And I was thinking, because there's not a lot of people who actually do a lot of racing or driving streams, of possibly doing that. So I was just putting feelers out just to see if other people would want to sort of take part in a few races. You know, it wouldn't just be on iRacing; it'd be across other sims as well. So I'm currently looking at it, and if anybody wants to contact me with ideas, please get in contact with me because I'd need all the help that I could get trying to stay awake for 24 hours.
Yeah, it's all for a good cause as well, so it'd be great to see people getting involved and obviously trying to raise as much money as we can. It is a really good cause, and it's nice that we can do something with the hobby we love as well, and obviously share that to the people. So fair play to you, mate. I know I'll try and join you for it as well. So if there is anyone out there, like I say, that would like to get involved, do contact Paul, and I'm sure we'll be able to sort something out. Before you go there, Paul, do you have anyone to give a quick shout out to?
Oh boy, here we go. Here's the list. Right, first of all, thanks to Phoenix Racing from Coventry University. The Simon Racing Report podcast, Johnny Simon has been doing some really good ones of reviewing World Championships Grand Prix Series races. So he's done a couple of those. We did one with Jamie Fluke as well. Calder Rescue, we support Calder Rescue. Calder Rescue, they're a motorsport rescue unit. And also we have got a Fanatec affiliate link as well, and you can find details of that on my YouTube and the Team Mad Facebook page.
Brilliant stuff. Well, pleasure as always, Paul, and well done for your results tonight, especially in race 3. It was great to see you going through the pack, and we will see you at Bathurst, where I'm sure we won't repeat the incident nobody talks about ever again.
Me winning 2 races there. Oh, I mentioned it. All the best, guys.
Cheers, Paul. Thank you.
Yeah, Paul Smith and Bathurst go hand in hand, I think. We'll see if that continues next week. We've got 2 drivers left there. We've got Dave Baker and we've got Stuart McFadden. One drives the CQR, one drives the CQR Academy, so we can get 2 of their perspectives here. We'll start off with Baker, the CQR driver, and it was going okay, but then the final race, it ended in the tie barrier at 30s, I believe. So what happened there?
I think I just maybe pushed out a little bit wide. Kim turned in a little bit too much. Rear quarter panel. Enough said. I don't know what'll come of it, but yeah, it was a sad way to end the night.
Apart from that, it was going okay, wasn't it? Second race was pretty good from what I can remember, anyway.
Yeah, second race was good. Managed to fight up to 4th. I only actually managed to get on tonight about 3 minutes into qualifying. So yeah, I was always going to start down the grid in race 1 because I literally had done no laps. So it's a bit of a damage limitation tonight, but yeah, maybe more damage rather than limitation by the looks of it.
A chat like Brands Hatch, a regular on the BSRTC calendar, surely you didn't need to have to do too much practice to get back into the rhythm.
You'd be surprised, actually. Out through the Grand Prix loop, there's a definite rhythm to that section of the track, and it's never been my favourite. Love the track, but that's definitely one of my weaker parts of it. So yeah, so I did need to find a little bit of something tonight. I think I was getting there towards the end, but yeah, not quite the evening I had in mind. And I've got to apologise to Brian Holmes as well, because we came together in race 1. I think he got a bit of a meatball sort of wheel damage from really light contact, but again, you know, it was never my intent, and what will be with it.
Just looking at the championship standings, it's very close between you and Foggy. Of course, the points will get changed when the showdown starts, are you pretty much assured of a spot in that championship now?
I hope so. I'm going to be missing the Suzuka round, so there's a 250 odd points that can disappear. But I think I'll hopefully have enough of a buffer to kind of the top 10, though it's all really close still. And obviously, any penalties I maybe pick up in this round or next week at Bathurst could really put you on the back foot, not only in terms of getting into the showdown, but then starting the showdown with penalties as well. I know that was my weakness last year.
Just looking on the replay there, you got a great view of what happened to your colleague Michael Hall at the start of the race, going through Stirling's.
Yeah, that was the team chat was kind of very talkative over that first lap because there was just so much going on. I don't know if the viewers and sort of might not appreciate just how close the action can be kind of in the mid-pack when everybody's checking up and darting this way, that way, and everybody on their various teams channels sort of trying to say car left, car right, your spotters going crazy. It really is hectic. Really good fun, but very hectic.
Yeah, the team radio aspect would be a great feature to have in the BSRTC, I reckon. I think we might have to employ someone with the swear button at the ready, but...
Yeah, very much. It's a bit like that NASCAR radioactive, put it like that.
Yeah, I used to remember that, dear me. Dave, Bathurst then, and it's almost like Talladega in the NASCAR chase, really. This is going to be a make or break race meeting for many of the drivers in the top 10 and outside it.
Yeah, very much so. It's very easy to get caught up in instants there. The walls are very close, and you've seen the standard of the grid. Miss a few tenths on your lap, and that can be quite a few positions come qualifying. So everybody's going to be pushing really hard. So it's going to be see who survives the peril of the mountain, really.
Great. Well, before we let you go, Dave, do you want to send a quick shout out to anybody?
Just a shout out to all the guys on the team, as always. You guys, of course. Everybody taking part in the series. I say that every time you interview me, but it's really everybody makes it what it is. This car's no fun if you've got 5 cars on track. It's a hell of a lot of fun when you've got 45.
Great. Well, hopefully Bathurst goes swimmingly next week. But for now, thanks for taking the time to come speak to us, and we'll hopefully speak to you next week.
Yeah, we'll speak to you soon, guys. Take care.
Dave Baker there, former BSRTC champion. Now Chaz Draycott is with Dave Baker's colleague at CKR Academy, Stuart McFadden.
I had to just have a look behind me then. I don't know whether you were looking over my shoulder or something, seeing Colin Cunniff. Stu, I assume you've had a really good night, seeing as you weren't racing.
I was racing today. I was just helping out the guys. I didn't make it in time. Last night I've been busy working on my schoolwork all week. So I just came on and just helped the guys with like traffic and qualifying and stuff like that.
And how did you feel it went? Did you feel like it made their jobs easier, or was it a bit sort of, or was it a loss because it is obviously quite a tight and twisty circuit?
Yeah, I think it helped them a lot, obviously, because everyone wants a decent slipstream. So, and the less that we can the more I was kind of doing was looking for cars behind. So if I muck up my job, then the team gets a penalty. So
yeah, that's true.
Don't want that.
Well, it's always nice to see it well orchestrated in qualifying. I mean, we saw it early on that there was, I think it was Ash, Jamie, and I believe Dave Baker as well, actually trying to get the positions. As he said, he turned up quite late in qualifying, so ended up 25th on the grid. But it's nice to see it well orchestrated. I mean, do you guys now tend to find that easy, or does it just sort of depend from track to track?
It depends on track to track. If you go to a track like Belle Isle, where it's really tight and twisted, it's difficult to, obviously with the amount of cars we've got 10 cars, so we've got 10 cars in a queue, and it's going to be difficult with Belle Isle being a street track. It's going to be difficult for people getting us in one straight line, whereas if you go to somewhere like let me get my head straight, like Indianapolis or something like that, and you can kind of pull off the racing line but still be in a kind of train.
Yeah.
So just depending on track to track, but most of the time the tracks are kind of like Indianapolis and Motegi and stuff like that, and you can kind of get a big train. There's only a couple of tracks, especially Bathurst next week as well. That's going to be really difficult.
Yeah, is it a track that you're looking forward to racing on?
Oh, Bathurst is an absolutely amazing track. It's a proper track where in the last sector you can have slipstream, and it can affect your lap time obviously because of the big massive long straight, but it's a proper driver's track. The walls are really close, and the more speed you can take in, the more reward you're going to get. The more risk you take, the more reward you're going to get. which is what I absolutely love about the place, especially in a V8. Just
Yeah.
absolute class in a V8.
Well, now I can't drive any of them Australian V8s in a straight line, never mind round Bathurst, so I'm not sure how you're managing that, but it's definitely a track where biggest man fruits prevail, so hopefully we'll see you up there fighting for some wins and maybe even podiums or top 10s, however you want to look at it, but it'll definitely be an exciting one. Anyone you want to give a quick shout out to before you go, bud?
Just well done to the CQR tonight, absolutely flawless as per usual. With the teamwork and stuff like that in chat. I mean, if you guys could hear it, it's pretty impressive. The teamwork that goes on in the chats and stuff like that. So yeah,
Brilliant
big
stuff.
thanks to them.
No worries, mate. Well, good to speak to you again, and we wish you all the best with your ventures at Bathurst next week. Then we'll make sure we keep an eye on you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Jim. Stu McFadden, one of the brightest young talents that you will find in iRacing. Really nice lad, and he's ferociously quick. So keep your eye on him next week when we go to Bathurst, because I'm sure he'll pull some fantastic racing out of the hat.
Yeah, he's definitely done very well in the World GT Championship. The races done so far this season. There's the Savidovic incident getting replayed for you again, and that shouldn't have too much of a bearing on the championship because Savidovic is pretty much locked into the showdown. But that will have worried Apex Racing a bit, because looking at the team standings, they are quite a way behind Northern Lights Racing GT and Mega, so we'll see what happens with that one. But yeah, my thanks to Chaz, and thanks to Sam for being on the cameras again here, and great evening here at Brands Hatch here in the UK. And the BSRTC gets ever closer to the showdown. Just 2 weeks to set the points before we go at it again. Final 6 weeks of the season. Bathurst next week, Zuka 2 weeks after that. Of course, more coverage over Apex Racing over the weekend. And on Monday as well, we will have some World GT action as well, I believe, plus Ritmatech Sports Car Series. And BSR MX5 on the Tuesday as well before this. The BSRTC returns a week on Thursday at Bathurst. You don't want to miss it. Join us then from 8:15 British Summer Time. But for now, from me, from Chaz and Sam here in the BSRTC at Brands Hatch, bye for now.